challenge. When I mess up, I'm really good at fixing the mess. Really, I'm like, okay, you know, I can do something with that. So it's very challenging.
Oh,
sometimes it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like...
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to our demonstration today from Bernice and Dusty Naranjo.
So I'm at that Good morning.
Good morning, Dusty. How's it going?
Good.
And I'm like, ooh, I can't.
Well, it's really nice to have you here.
And then my
Nice to be
arthritis
here.
kind of...
So we are here at Andrea Fisher Fine Pottery this morning with doing a wonderful demonstration, and I just learned something new that Bernice, who's over here as well, is also from Taos Pueblo instead of Santa Clara Pueblo. So we're fixing that on our website right now, which is awesome.
I know.
So you're from Santa Clara, Dusty, and you obviously have your hands in the clay.
Santa Fe.
What are you up to?
So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to start
her son Derek. They're really good to us. Some of this work is ours actually.
You're hot.
I'm Bernice and my daughter Dusty. So we have our work over here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sorry about that. I had a hard time hearing because I'm listening in as well at the same time.
I'm Bernice, and you can
So what I'm going to start doing is start building a pot, and you're going to see Mom in a minute here. She's going to introduce herself.
You're very
and
welcome.
she's going to tell you about what she's going to be doing. Mom, do you want to tell everybody what you're going to be doing? Say, introduce yourself and say.
I'll probably be talking predominantly.
Say hi. Say hi to everybody.
Okay, I'm Bernice, my daughter Dusty, and she's half Santa Clara, either vertically or horizontally, I'm not sure. But I'm Taos. I'm from Pueblo, Taos. It's a very, I don't know how many of you have been to Taos. Have you been to Taos? Yeah. But I don't go there often, but Taos pottery is quite different. So I kind of decided I was really tired of my usual pottery, which is mica, and I'm pretty much self-taught, and these are just the small bolts that I do, and I do large pieces, which you see right over here. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go ahead and design. Yeah. Designed a piece. So, wish me luck. Anyway.
So how do you do the design, Bernice? Do you get the designs out of your head? Do you draw them out first?
Sometimes. But sometimes I usually take a piece of paper and I'm going to draw a water serpent or the avenue, so I just a portion of it. But this little guy is mythological, so he can be anything I want because he's never been seen. So I really like him. And I use him a lot on my pottery, like the big one there. So this design, I think, is going to end up on top where you have more a visual rating of the pot. And then the bottom is going to have the water designs, maybe, in the bottom. And this is my tool, Exacto, the blade.
And Bernice, what is your favorite part about doing pots?
Probably sanding, because it's messy and I like all that dirt that flows around and everybody don't bother me. Don't come near Mom. And so I usually wear a mask and goggles and I sand outside. It takes me outside instead of in. And I don't mind sanding. And it's interesting because when this one is my daughter's work, and that's how they look. They're kind of homely and sad looking and crooked. And when I sand them, they turn very beautiful. You use sandpaper 2 grades. And I know she doesn't like to sand, but I love it. So the little ugly duckling becomes very beautiful into a very nice little piece. So when I'm sanding, sometimes I can turn a very traditional form into a contemporary form. You know, you got different angles, and it's kind of nice. I can change this piece pretty much. I can do the sharp corners and bring that more, so my pieces are a little bit thicker, so that I have a way to change the shape.
And Dusty, what's your favorite part about making pots?
My favorite part is the very last is the designing.
Okay.
The pot. That's what I like to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's a hard question for both of you. What's your least favorite thing about making pots?
My least, I don't like to sand. Mom, that's Mom's favorite part.
Yeah.
But mine is sanding. I don't like it. Yeah. What's your least favorite part, Mom?
Probably the firing.
Okay.
The firing. The firing is, since I have problems with arthritis, I think it's harder for me to bend down. And so I've come to the point where I have a picker-upper, and I don't have to bend so much. You know, I can pick up the piece of wood. So my husband, that's where he comes in. She likes to chop wood, and I'm not that tough. You know, so firewood is difficult. So that's why my husband does all the work.
Oh, that's nice. So you do have help in the firing and the wood collecting.
Everything. Let me tell you. Here's a 15-step process.
It's a family business.
Okay,
Sure
I
is.
wrote a 15-step process, and pretty much as you read on, you're going to find that it becomes familial. You get your family involved, your children, and, you know, as you get older, they feel pathetic for you. Say, oh, poor mom, let's go help her. But a lot of it takes a lot of muscle. You know, it takes a lot of manpower. A lot of times when you're digging out the clay, it comes in along the cliff, tiny strata, but that tiny strata is very thin to get the raw clay. And this is like Hershey chocolate. It's absolutely beautiful when you have something like this here, because it's really dark brown. And it's a beautiful Hershey color when it's in the mountains. And you can see right now that it's changing. So it's like Hershey bars. And it lays in a strata, and sometimes you have to crawl in a little space, and there's no way I can bend down. So my sons or my husband, he's kind of thinner, he can go under the cliff, and you have a little hammer, and you're digging out, and it's a lot of this step process becomes family work. The firing wood, the digging of clay, the volcanic ash, lots of work. I'm getting to the point that I'm doing paintings. I just sold a painting yesterday, and I was excited. I decided that as I'm getting older, I have so many more years, and I have to think about what am I going to do. If I go to old age home, I'm surely not going to sit around chasing those cute little guys running around in their gowns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do some paintings, you know, and I'm saying, I'm getting myself into painting, which I love, so I do 2 days of pottery, and then to get a change, I can hardly wait to get to my watercolor or acrylics, and I'm really happy. I'm at a really good point now. I'm ready to retire sometime from pottery, and maybe instead of doing 50, maybe do 3 or 4 really nice big pieces. I love the big forms, very big pieces.
Do you paint any drawings on the pottery as well?
I'm sorry?
Do you do any painting on the pottery, like painting any drawings on the pottery as well?
Oh, well, sometime if I'm not familiar with design, I will draw first, but basically I have a good idea. If I'm working in a big one, they tell me, aren't you afraid to start? I said, no, otherwise if I were, I'd never get it done. So I just make that first print, and it's really challenging because I feel like there's incredible artists that are really, really, really talented. But I happen not to be one of them. I just enjoy the art. I really do. I do it for me. And I love every part of it. And the mistakes are challenging. I love that. I never worry about mistakes because there's always a way. I find a way to do them. And I love the challenge. And I get bored, and so I go in a tangent. I never follow my pattern. Ever. So it's my personality. Some people can do 1,000 of this on one pot. I'm saying, I'm bored. I'm going off to some, so I go on my own tangent. So what you say here is just kind of like trying something different. And it'll be different. It'll be on top here. So, yeah.
And then I believe you etch them into the surface, right? You don't paint onto your pots? And it's called sgraffito, is that correct?
You know, I've tried using, you know, the only thing about this pottery is that if you take a look at this, they're basically the brown, the beige, the gray, and the black. And I get so totally turned off by that because I would like to paint, and I've started to use a tiny bit of color on my pieces, but I don't want to get to the point where I'm a traditionalist. I want to stay with the way, I'm self-taught anyway. I got this book on Santa Clara. I said, I don't have anybody teaching me. And I said, well, I read a lot. And I said, how hard could it be? I am pretty much self-taught since 1981. But I didn't start out with this I started out with the traditional Taos Pueblo mica, and that's a totally different clay. But I like the interchangeable kind of method that I do with clay. But I'm pretty much, you know.
And Dusty, what are you doing over there?
So what I'm doing is I'm starting out a, one of my favorite shapes is just a very traditional round bowl.
Like that one.
Vase
She drew
shape.
that. I told her draw it, so have
draw it
idea.
out so that
So
everybody
she won't
knows
cheat.
what I right. She's keeping me honest. So
it's got to look just like that.
yeah, it's got to look just like that. So you got to make sure. So what I'm starting to do is that after the process of, this is maybe like, what step is this, Mom, in the process? What step is pottery?
What step are you at?
Yeah.
You just wait here. You're on just number, let's see, you're now on number 7.
Number 7.
Number 8 and 9, she's going to do the coiling. The
So
snakes.
after we get our own clay and we sift out the impurities, then we add volcanic ash to it, which this is volcanic ash, and we gather our own materials. And so we make our clay in buckets. So
if you're ever in Washington, pick this up and sell it to us Indians. We look for it.
we can't get enough of it. We're just like crazy about the volcanic ash.
Yeah.
So we mix it together and then we let it sit and kind of let the water evaporate. And so when it's about this consistency, you can see this is a mixed clay. And if you want to,
that's the clay.
Yeah,
very nice.
It's very
you can fill
malleable.
it if you like. It's
and
very nice.
so it's not too dry, not too wet, but it's perfect because
you can even form a little pot.
Yeah, you could try
Take
it.
that and form a little finger dish.
It's so pleasing.
Yeah,
Isn't
just
it
roll
pleasing?
it and put your finger in there and just twist it.
Just put your finger in there.
I have little potter I call TV pots.
Yeah. So we'll do a TV pot later. So what you're going to do is that, of course, I have to get all the air bubbles out. So this is what I'm doing. Is when I'm kneading the clay, I'm just making the air bubbles come out. And then what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start on a puki base. So here's my puki. That's a word from Mom. Mom was...
P-U-K-I is puki, the base.
So it's a plastic dish.
They become heirlooms, but that's Walmart.
So I don't know how many pieces we've made from this puki. So what I'm going to do is once I get the air bubbles out, then I put the clay in the puki, as you can see, and it starts to form the base of the pot. And basically all our pieces, that even the ones that you see here on the shelf, are either pinch pots or they're made from a very puki, like very simple puki base. And so these are some of my favorites. So what I'm going to do is I'm just using my fingers to begin to build a shape. And then what I'll do is I'll get my water. I rinse my hands every few minutes. And I just put my one hand here. And then just begin to, yeah, we go through a lot of lotion and paper towels. And then I just begin to make the round form. And then, of course, the Kemper tool helps out. What it does, it just flattens out the air bubbles and then also adds to the shape. I've heard some people have used some really cool things like old CDs that I've seen them use, which is really cool. But these Kemper tools are just awesome. We get that from
But a long
the clay
time
companies.
ago, they didn't have that, so they used gourds.
They use gourds.
And if you found a gourd, you would make it your own. So nowadays, it's really important, like the puki dish. The puki dish was actually...
That's pretty good.
That's cute, though. That can sell for up to about $70 miniature.
There
really.
You are, on the way to Santa Clara.
I made a bean pot. And it was so beautiful. It was a tiny bit bigger, and it had a lid. And I put one bean in it. And the ladies were just so tickled with that bean pot. But they do become miniatures, yes.
What did you think of that? What did you think of the working with the clay?
I thought it would be messier.
Uh-huh.
You know,
It's wonderful.
It's not, is it? This is, it comes straight from the earth. We don't buy our clay, which is just, you know, the really neat thing about it.
It's easy to smooth out.
I know.
But this is what it looks
traditional
like.
process.
But before it gets to that point, it goes to about 6 steps. It is a lot of work, and it's really not that much fun. The digging, what you see is the refined process. It's really hard work, and there's times when we just absolutely dread it. But once you get to number 15, you see the dollars coming up. It's a wonderful hobby. It just depends on how hard a person works. How hard to work makes a lot of difference. You can buy a Lamborghini if you work hard enough. You can. Some artists are doing exceedingly well. Me, I started pottery in 1981, and that's the same summer I got my master's degree. And so I didn't do any art, and I thought, what now? You know, I'm teaching, I need to do something fun. And I said, I have an arts degree, so I thought, what do I do now? And I didn't want to do clay, but apparently it called me. They say it calls you, you know, so I got stuck with it, strangely, because I did watercolor, I did beadwork, everything, but here I am, and I love clay. You know, I just learned to love it. So it's a great it's a good way. What do you ladies do for a hobby?
For hobby?
Yeah. Do you read a lot?
I do read a lot. I'm like,
Oh, yes.
by trade.
Librarian.
Well,
Oh,
that's a
cool.
hobby too, you know. What kind of books do you like to read?
Basically anything.
Anything.
I love to cook, so I do local cookbooks a lot.
Yeah. I think women, especially, I tell my girls, Dusty was getting her master's, and she said, she got her BA, and she said, Mom, I'm broke. I said, good, here's some clay, get to work. And she said, and she actually, she didn't know anything about pottery, but she's incredible now. Some of the pieces you see, her design specialty is horses. I don't touch that part. We have like a little fine line where if she's doing something, I don't try to overturn her. So I stay away from horses. Basically, they're not my favorite. I'm scared to death of horses. So, but she loves the horse design. And my grandson says, I like that one, Grandma. Can I use it? I said, well, we try not to copy too much from each other. So we have each our own specialty of design. Yeah. And then we've done some large collaborative pieces together. Not too often, but we did a very large horse pot. It was beautiful.
Do you use the pots for people that just kind of decoration, or do you, when you talk about putting a bean pot, do you use it as like planters, or?
Well, they used to, long ago when they were first making pottery, they would use them to store seeds and to go into the garden and kind of like a salt shaker. So those are the seed pods.
They kind of were shaped like this.
They were kind of shaped like that.
Yeah, a little hole, and they had probably a corn cob that was used as a stopper. You know, that's what I think, because they had to use what they had.
Yeah.
You know,
And as storage jars, I'm sure, for maybe water. Ours are so refined that at this point they're just decorative. The micaceous clay that is from Taos and Nambe and Pickeries is, of course, traditional, and it's, I think, one of the only ones that is waterproof by nature. So it'll be, it's amazing clay. Ours is not, it's just more decorative because ours are so low fired. What we have to do is that we fire outside, and we get variations of color, but the clay is the same kind of clay as the very traditional Santa Clara carved pieces that you see. So this is the same clay that everybody gets, and it's so interesting because my mom and I sit here and we're talking just like we are now. We sit here, we're together, and so I live in Utah, and I moved from Alaska to Utah, and then mom was saying, oh, that's great, now you're closer to home. So I just picked up pottery again, which I couldn't do when I was in Alaska. So I've been staying with Mom and my family for about 3 months.
Yeah, her dad has been kind of off and off, not feeling well.
Yeah, Dad wasn't feeling well,
he's
so
in
I
his
could come in.
mid-80s now, and he was always a viral walker, hiker, hunter. So he's had his really bad moments. So she came, and she doesn't want to go home. And I think her boyfriend is saying, "When are you coming home?" She goes, "Probably never." So I said, "You might as well marry him."
Yeah. So what happens is that Mom and I have been working. So I came back into pottery, and so I've been producing a lot more pieces since I've been staying in Santa Clara with the family. And so we've been doing things like what Mom is talking about. For example, we just went last week with my dad and my nephew, Jonathan, who's also a potter, to go get clay. And so the clay pit is what we call it. It's about 10 minutes from where we live in Santa Clara. And so we do make it kind of a family event because of the fact that we can take like the little one, Jonathan's little girl is about 3, and I was babysitting her and looking for rocks and things like that. Well, the family was getting clay, or we take turns. So the clay that has been there for centuries was used for the same pots that you would find when we find pottery shards, storage jars, things like that. And so the process that we use is very traditional. As you can see, I don't use a wheel. I work like I am now on my kitchen table. I don't even have a studio. We don't have a studio, so we work in the kitchen. And our table, my mom's table, is really tiny, and I'll be sitting there with this little tiny space. And so we don't have a wheel, we don't have a studio or anything like that. So this is pretty much how it is at home. Yeah, and she'll be doing.
Have the wheels way back.
I know some artists are really well put together. They have everything. They have their own studio, but we don't. So it didn't matter. So during dinner time, I work either on top of my freezer painting or my little corner. And
we work on top of the
it's
freezer.
like time for dinner. Oh no! So sometimes we're
we'll just slide
my
over
husband
our
has
stuff.
all his letters on the table. My son has his books, and people come in and say, "Oh, where do they put their dishes?" There's like. But anyway, we got organized chaos over there.
Yeah. So we got a multi-generational household because I have a brother who's 16 years younger than me, and he has a son who's in the 6th grade. Aiden's 12, and so my brother right now is finishing up his getting his master's. So he's got, like my mom was saying, he's got his books there, and then Mom and I are in the corner doing what we're doing now, and Dad is doing his keeping on scores on the NBA or something like that. We're looking through his emails, and so since we don't have a studio, it's pretty much like this, and so we make all the pieces on the table.
I'm excited because my son's getting his doctorate. He's getting ready in the fall
I don't know
to
how
go
to
to
use a wheel.
Albuquerque.
I
He
don't
got
know how to
into
do
the
that.
doctorate program. And he's
you and
15 years younger than Dusty. So we say he's the dark horse. And he said, "Oh, but he's doing so incredibly well." So he's going into sociology as his doctorate. And we're excited because to me, I've pushed my kids. I said, no. I started college when I was 30 years old. And I said, it's a good time, then you're more mature. And my son did the whole route. I said, he's right where I always want him to be right now. So he's getting ready for a doctorate. It's amazing how much he's done. And we're really proud of him because, my older daughter is an RN in administration. Dusty's a therapist by trade, half-time potter, and I'm a retired teacher in special education and arts, administrative degree of a master's. And my husband retired from university work. And my Aaron, who's the baby, is now getting ready for a doctorate. So this is just like a side thing because to me, education especially for some race groups, is essential. Couldn't do without it. So no matter what they do, they have to go to school. And yeah. Oh my, yeah, that's Dusty's work. Yeah.
That one takes, well, as you can see, after what would happen after I make the pot, what's going to happen is that it's going to look like this after about 4 or 5 days. And this is kind of like the pot has dried and it's ready to be sanded. And so the sanding is the refining process of the shape. That's the part my mom likes the best. I don't like to sand. But when that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to polish with the slip that's in front of my mom.
This one here
is what we get at La Bajada Hill on the way to Albuquerque. And you're going to see, you're driving down La Bajada Hill, and if you look on the right-hand side, and there's this beautiful red dirt, that's where we get our slip. And so we have to actually go out and find it because the strata is probably about this big. My dad and I went out there about a month ago, and it was like this big. And so he's like, we got to get that specifically because if it's too sandy, it doesn't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to put about 3 or 4 layers of slip and then hand burnish it with the stones that you see next to the slip. No, what you're going to do is you're going to put the slip and then polish it, and then you're going to get a little bit of lard, which we forgot to bring the lard, our morel lard, and then just put a little bit on your pot and do that till you get a high sheen. And so what it's going to look like after the firing is what my mom
You can get a different color depending on the kind of wood that you're using or material. And I guess by now you guys know that if you get a pure black like the black here, it's pretty much done by using horse manure. Not the fresh, of course. It's got to be really dry. Yeah, you got to dry it and then pulverize it, make it real fine. And it's a real trick too because you can get extremely hot and get the red firing like a lot of this red pottery. So the red is done by the high firing, and every artist have their own secrets. They won't tell you where they got their wood. They won't share stuff with you. They're very secretive. So it's like, no, it's a family thing. We can't tell you. So you're like, okay, it's like trial and error sometimes, especially if you have no one to help you. So you just kind of keep trying. And the firing is difficult. You get really good at watching the flame or timing it. You have to know when to pull it out, because if you high fire, there's no way that I can do sgraffito, which is a technique that comes from Italy. That means etch out or scratched out. And that's how we do our designs. You can see from the majority of pottery here that there's many ways to do a pot.
Yeah.
And people have incredible talent of coming up with new techniques.
It's amazing.
And we're also looking for different ways, contemporary paints that are popular. We're not quite there, but we're getting to the point we want to do more exploration.
So it takes about, sorry, Bob. So it takes about anywhere from I would say 2 weeks. I've never really timed it.
But you're doing multiple pieces
You're
at
doing
a time
multiple
at different
pieces.
stages.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing multiple pieces at the same time. So you see those are done. And then yesterday I was building while these ones are drying so that when they're ready to sand, then
This
we'll
one
sand
is about
them.
ready to sand.
Yeah.
That's
And
about
then
ready.
we'll polish and then we'll fire. We fire using wood. And then we don't really count the pots till they're done from the firing because a lot of times there'll be
pop.
pieces that have
It's like 4th
air
of July.
bubbles and they'll pop in the firing. So
When you fire, is it in the hornos?
You can do it either way on top of the ground, or some people put a hole and they put their container. I think people just kind of explore, say what's the best way. You can look. I like the old tin because the new stuff, the galvanized one, it'll make your pottery turn green, as I found out a long time ago. I used a brand new top. I was in a hurry, and I picked it up from one of the garden shops. I put it in the ground. I fired a large one. It was interestingly green, and so I had to refire it. And so you have your favorite way of, everybody has their own thing. So either way works. You can do a raku fire in a trash can and put sawdust in it with holes in your trash can. You can have a very different effect. Totally different.
So you've done some raccoons.
Yeah, right. So
it's fun. Yeah. Yeah. And the designing can take anywhere from a few hours to
Many
even a
days.
week. Yeah.
Oh, more than that.
A long time.
Some people,
Some
when
pieces
they're working
take
with very large
so-
pieces,
yeah,
it's taken me
long
half
time.
a year. It's intensive, very intensive. My grandson will do his line about 5 inches, and he'll work at a very slow speed, but I think that's why he's so incredible an artist. But he's very talented, though. I mean, I think you're born with a lot of gifts that will give you kind of a head start, but we're not all born the same way. Even with my sister doing beadwork, I can't do half as well as she can. And my grandson is incredible. His designs are realistic. He's just amazing. And he's my grandson. He started out with me when he's a little boy. But he's true born, it's innate. You were just born with it. And sometimes you have to work harder. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just have to work harder. But if you enjoy your gift for arts, it's all there. It's for anybody, really. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.
And are you folks from here? Or are you? Oh, that's great. You're strolling and having fun.
A tourist for the day.
Well, you need to you can buy commercial clay and do there's so much fun stuff you can do, Yeah, but some people really don't like the idea of touching clay. It's just, I'm very kinetic and tactile. I like, working with, I even like playing with mud, walking in the rain with my shoes on. But most people don't like the touch of clay. My mother didn't. She said, I don't like clay, but she made the most beautiful Indian dolls. And I used to help her. She was a great seamstress. She just didn't like the feel of clay. It wasn't for her. She didn't like the touch. But that happens. It really does.
Thank you.
You are so welcome.
Well, enjoy your day. It's beautiful out there.
Have fun.
Well, right here you have like a slew of different groups of pueblos and other people. I think this gallery has a very excellent selection of incredible work, and I'm always amazed when I come in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, have a great day, ladies. Have fun.
It's right back in the case in the center. Anyway,
it's nice.
I got a question for you ladies. I'm wondering about how you learn how to make pots. Did you just watch Bernice?
I did. I just watched her. My mom was saying I started when I was in graduate school. I don't even remember the year, or I'm not going to say it because it was a while ago, but it's been a while. So how I started was I asked my mom just the basics of how you start a pot. And so what she told me to do is the very basic pinch pot, which I'm going to do now, is just forming it in your hand. So she told me just get a ball. So I'm going to get a ball of clay. Right, Mom? Do you remember this? Mm-hmm. This is how she taught us how to do pottery. So got a ball. And then you just stick your finger in there, and then you start to form it. Put it in this hand. And this is what my mom showed me how to do. It was a very basic pinch pots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these are really fun to do. And a lot of times when I have kids, or when I work with kids, even when I'm doing my in counseling, so I have a degree in art therapy. So if someone is interested in doing pottery or art as a therapeutic process, it's always fun for us to start like this and just kind of begin with the pinch pot. So you can see it's got a little rounded shape. It's kind of starting out. So that's how I started to do pottery. Just very simple. And then the other cool thing is that once you can start to shape, just using your fingers, and then the bigger pieces, so there's that one. So the bigger pieces, she told me, she said, you just use a pookie base. So she said, this is a bowl, and then I just make snakes. So that's all I'm doing. I'm making snakes. It's very traditional. So that's what Mom told me. So all my pieces, this is it. This is how I do them. Either the pinch pot method, or I do it with a pookie base, and I make coils. These are pretty, this is like a good size for a pot, and I just put one on top of the other. And that's what Mom told me. This is what I've learned from my mom. And she taught herself how to do the Santa Clara pieces, but she also does Taos pieces too. So it's really neat to see her progression of her work. But this is very, very simple. This is how I do all my pieces, and this is what Mom said to do. So I don't know what else, Mom. Was there anything else that I needed to know about pottery? About making pieces?
Know, I think that's the way, like I said, I was self-taught, and I really didn't have anybody showing me how to do pottery. And it wasn't as easy. It took a long time for me to find my way around to form what I wanted to form. And if I had any questions, I would just basically do some reading and say, well, this is how the artists do it. So I would give it a shot, and little bit by little bit, I think I can say right now, after all these years that I'm still learning. I'm still learning about pottery. And that's what happens, you kind of evolve. And the more you do it, the better it gets. Good morning.
So we do have one comment from the internet from
Okay.
Michaela. She says, "Hi, Auntie and Mom."
Oh,
Hi,
she
love.
can see us.
Yeah.
Hi, Mac. Hi, Mackie girl.
Hi, monkey.
Hi, baby girl. Can you see Grandma, Mama?
I know,
Yeah.
right? She's probably like, that's not the way they look when
She
they're
said,
at home.
I'm going to watch you guys. I said, oh, no. Oh, no.
That's funny.
Yeah, she's in Las
Michaela.
Cruces.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
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 So we're live. So she could see us doing this. She's like, that's not the way you guys look when you're at home.
Now,
Right.
I can't get Michaela to start with pottery. She actually got a ribbon 3 years ago when she did a face mask for Indian market. Michaela tried, but she doesn't take to clay. How are you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of those are a work. Bernice and Dusty, my daughter. Mm-hmm. But Michaela doesn't seem to take to clay as well. But she's done some face masks, and she had fun.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's just sweet to,
I
say
know,
hi to
right?
everybody.
I know all our fans out there, right? I'm going to add some colors to those.
Anyway, it's fun.
So, when you were learning, the reason that I'm asking is because us white guys tend to learn a little differently than everybody else. And, we would go to a class and we'd be told what to do, and then we'd be instructed on how to do it. Was that the case for you, or was it more of a watch for a while?
Watch.
Yeah,
Yep,
it was
it
sit by,
was.
like I'm doing now, and watch what Mom was doing. So that's the way that I learned. I couldn't sit there and have Mom, she would show me, if I say, Mom, I needed help, and she would kind of help me to shape the pieces, learn how to use a Kemper tool, things like that. Since I didn't have any, I started relatively older. So when I was in my, what was I, Mom? My teens, late teens, 20s, something like that. And so Mom was the one that I went to say, hey, Mom, I can't get this pot shaped right, or I have trouble polishing. And so I would just sit with Mom and work alongside Mom. And that's the way that I learned the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
very different from the way us white guys tend to learn.
Uh-huh.
But it comes out to, it's just interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I had a different upbringing than everybody else, just like everybody else has different upbringings than everybody else. So
Right.
it's fun to be able to know that, you know, everybody does everything differently. And that's actually the part that I find the greatest
Right.
about all of
Yeah.
this that's in here, is that every single person effectively has the same tools.
Yeah.
Their hands, some scrapers of some sorts, some polishing stones, hand-dug clay, a family recipe, and some firing materials. And every single person's things turn out so uniquely different
So
from
different.
everybody else.
I know.
And it's just fascinating to see
Well-
that everybody does everything very similarly, but everything comes out so uniquely. And that's my favorite part about all of this.
I think so too. It's just really amazing to look at the variations of pottery and the amazing work when you recognize that there's this amazing abilities that everyone has in the craftsmanship and the differences in clay and the color and the shapes.
The designs. Yeah, your own
amazing.
personal self comes out like all the time, like what Dusty can do. I can't emulate, you know. I can't do what she can do, and she needs help with some things that I can do. And my grandson's work is astronomically beautiful. And we're like, wow, we were saying that's incredible, Dusty.
Stunning.
Or Jonathan, I can't believe it. I mean, it's just your personality comes out in the design and the shape. Everything becomes your own. Say, I don't want to do Dusty's horses because that's her design. You know, so there's a sense of cutting across the fine line for each other.
Well, do you ever collaborate with each other?
Oh, yes, we did.
do.
2 years ago, we decided that I love her horses, but so I made the pot and it was very large. It was about 30, let me see, it was about 27 inches. The pot was very big and it had a beautiful form, very narrow, and it went to the top. Well, I made the pot, dried it, sanded, polished it, and Dusty did the horse design. I did the background. It was beautiful. And the first day we put it out, the afternoon, this woman that lives in Santa Fe came by. She goes, oh my God, I've been looking for a horse pot. Oh my gosh. So apparently Dusty said she was so overcome. She said, save it, I'll be back. So she came back and said, wrap it up. We were delighted.
Well, of course.
Yeah, we were delighted because we haven't done too many collaborative pieces. And I like to work
I don't know why
really
not.
large
Why
forms.
haven't we done more? I don't
Yeah.
know why we haven't done more. That was one of the very first ones that we've done together.
Right.
It's fun and it's also challenging
Yeah.
to do collaborations
Yeah.
together. So sometimes it'll be where we have to discuss it before we do it, kind of thing. And I think that's what we did with that pot, is that we had a basic idea of what we wanted to do, and Mom said, I want you to put your horses on there. So she made a pot that was very elongated and had a very nice surface. So I love her forms. So it was her that made the pot, and all I did was come in and do the final designing of the piece, and which was great. It just turned out absolutely stunning.
Well, and that
I
means
was
you
so-
didn't have to do the sanding either,
Right.
right?
I didn't have to do the sanding
I
either.
did the
which
sanding.
which
I polished
everybody
it.
knows now that I just don't like to sand, so they're going to be like, you don't need to sand. Get her to sand more pieces.
Yeah.
But I
For
don't know why
some-
we haven't done more collaborative pieces, Mom. We
Yeah,
should.
I actually like the big pieces the
Yeah,
best.
we like big pieces.
I don't like
Wanna
the
do that
small
now.
stuff. Like about this size is my comfort zone, but for Dusty, she does the tiny ones, and I just can't do the tiny ones. But I do them. I do them anyway.
And do you have a favorite shape to make or a favorite size to
You know,
make?
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. I like the bigger pieces. You know, I've been experimenting with some different shapes. You can see the pyramid I like, which is really cool. What I like about the pyramid piece is that I've never seen a piece that's more stable I mean, it could probably be like exposed to an earthquake or some other natural disaster, and you'd be totally fine. And it's so fun to design on a flat surface. So I like elongated pieces. I like flat surface pieces, square pieces, just because I just like that flat surface to design. So that's what I've been experimenting with. Of course, new designs too, trying out different animals that I haven't done before, but I love to design on bigger elongated pieces. So, and different shapes. The pyramid pieces, double lobe pieces, trying that out too. So, but anyway, this is what I was doing. I wanted to show everybody this. This is like a little sea pot. That's how you do it. That's it. So, that's a little pot. And
for me, I'm really influenced by Japanese pottery, and I just adore Japanese work. And Japanese ceramics were very much like that bowl there, where it's narrow, and they're just elegant and simple in form. It really does do something to me, and I emulate that. And people say, your work looks Japanese, your designs look Japanese. And I've done some fish, but it was just too Japanese looking, you know. So I decided not to sell it because I felt it wasn't really my culture, and I had gone over the edge where I couldn't describe it as a Pueblo pot. So I really stopped doing the design that I was using. So sometimes, you know, there's a lot of discrepancy saying, well, you're not Hopi, why are you doing that design? So there's like a fine line that Native American people, I think, subconsciously follow, that you can't go too far or use another culture group's design, especially Pueblo. Because, you know, among the Pueblos, there's the Zuni, different kind of designs. So I think it's kind of unsaid that you just kind of follow with what's more natural to your own idea of what pottery should be. And you can't go too far away, or you can't use highly religious designs, you know, that are taboo. So we have our own negatives that we have to follow that are not supposed to be done. So,
but we do get influenced. We admire, and we do get influenced by other pottery, other artists, shapes, designs, concepts. And so, like Mom, I'm also very, very influenced by Japanese pottery artwork, and I like the simplicity of it. So Mom and I have very similar, I think, ways of thinking about art, and maybe that comes from the fact that when I was little, that when she was going to school, she started going to college when I was about 5 or 6, and so I would tag along with Mom to her art classes. So I've always, when it comes to art, I've always been like at Mom's side. So when she was in college and I went with her to her photography class, it was really cool because that's the first time I've ever seen a pinhole camera. And it was just these really neat ways that I was exposed to art. And so I think that's where the influence of just seeing her artistic abilities, you know, doing her pen and ink, her photography, all those things, sitting with her in the dark room, and her developing her own film and photographs was just so awesome, and some of my favorite memories of just sitting by Mom. So I think that's why it just seems so natural that even now, after all this time and being as old as I am, that I still sit with my mom, and I'm so grateful that she's able to do this. And so I think that's why it's just so natural for us just to sit here together, because I've always done that. I've always kind of like
we did just get a nice fun comment from the internet, and that is, you two are wonderful. Thank you for sharing and talking so freely.
Oh, so, thank you.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
We like it.
It's good to let people know how these pots are done, and you know, we enjoy sharing, because everybody, they should be willing to share, because it's a talent that one has, or either you work at it, or I think the whole philosophy of mine work is that you got to do it. You can't lay off, not even one day, because there's, you know, the skill that it takes to get good. I admire and have great respect for great artists who are really famous, because I know that they've gotten there by hard work, you know, and the consistency of work. The famous artists that I admire, I can't help but have this pedestal kind of feeling like they're awesome. You know, they are so incredibly good. And when I see their work, it inspires Bernice to work harder at some of the deficits that are lacking in my own work. So I'm always looking at, oh my gosh, that's amazing. You know, it's just amazing to see something that people can do that is coming from the inside of their souls. You know, it's just incredible. And the work that you have here in your gallery is a great example of the immense talent and diversity that comes from within. And that's what art does. It's a wonderful endeavor for any human person. It doesn't matter whether you're good or not. Art is art in itself, and it's meditative, it's mentally productive, and you can solve problems where you're meditating, or for the soul. You know, we all need that peace that comes from within, and pottery does that to my soul. I do pottery, even when I'm tired, I sit down and I'm saying, what next? What can I do next? And sometimes I'll be painting at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And I love it. When I'm tired, then I'm happy. I look at it the next morning. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. So I look at it. So there's always a chance of remediating.
So that's an interesting thought that you brought up, that the next day sometimes you look at things and you're not as pleased with what you think that they are. What do you how do you deal with that? What do you decide to do? Or do you rework it? Do you, what do you do?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you do, don't you? Because I did that the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was telling my mom, I don't really like the shape.
Right.
And so what I did was I stopped immediately, and I covered it, of course, with plastic so that it stays pretty wet and easy to work with. And the next morning I woke up, and for some reason I just could not get a shape that I really was pleased with. So I ended up taking the piece apart, rebuilding the top of the finished piece, and just asking my mom, well, what do you think about it? Or what do I need to do? So she's always telling me, well, there's always, you know, you can always change it, which is an amazing thing, because it lends itself to that part of where creativity, but it also means that you can think about what you want, and if it doesn't work for you, then you can change it, which is really neat. So that is pretty cool. So I did that. I just did just that. And so I was asking my mom about the piece, and she was telling me, I've had pieces where, weren't you telling me that you've taken pieces apart completely? That you didn't like them, or sometimes if we take these pots out too far from the puki base, and they'll start to develop a crack when they're drying. And so Mom was saying I had to take a piece apart just so that I can rebuild it again. And sometimes you just have to do that. That's the beauty of it too.
Yeah, and from my understanding, you know, sometimes the clay does not work how you want it to.
No.
And no matter how hard you try or how hard you push, it gets worse, not better.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, many times I've done, a lot of times, I finished a pot and somehow it's just not correct. And I'll end up, sometime I go out too far and it just caves in. So one time I had this large bowl, the puki bowl, which is the one that supports the basic one. When I finished it, I really didn't like it, so I took the whole thing apart except for about ½ an inch of the bottom. And I looked at it and I took it apart, and there was this interesting design where I took the clay off, and it was so beautiful that I said, I want to do something with that edge, and I did. I carved it, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I put designs inside the bowl, and I sold it almost immediately because just the way it tore off was ragged, and it was very aesthetic. I said, I like it. So I sanded it, and it was really nice. But I've destroyed bowls many times. And sometimes they're even at this point, and sometimes you go too thin, and you poke a hole in there. And I said, that's really nice, so I'll do something with that hole. And sometimes it just doesn't seem to be the day to finish or work in a pot. It's almost like they don't want, say, I don't want to be formed, you know, like I have had so many pieces, they're big, and I'm like, something goes wrong, and I'm saying, well, I don't want to throw it away. That's a lot of labor. I've spent 6 hours, and I try to remediate whatever I have, but if it doesn't work out, it's not fired, we put them back, we crack them, and then we turn them into clay again. So the clay is used over and over many times sometimes.
Because it's hard to get, so you don't want to waste it.
It's
it
really
takes
too
a lot of
hard
effort.
to dig out. To get the volcanic ash, the men have to go across. You can't enter private unless you have friends. So we get our shunya, our volcanic ash in a place where you have to go over about 1/4 mile walking, climb over fences, go to, you know, carrying a wagon, buckets, shovels. So it's really too hard to waste it. You know, you learn to be conservative with your supplies. Even this piece, well formed, and that's money here.
Yeah.
You know, it's money. And to me, when I get new clay, it's like you can give me like a bag of gold. That's what it becomes for me. I have very high price. I respect the clay. I'm not super native religion kind of thing, but I respect it, and I want the grandchildren never to be throwing it around. You know, I say no, it should not be thrown around. And you go dig it, and I always say thank you, spirits, clay spirits, for giving us just clay. You know, you become really humble because you know it has to be from the ground, and you kind of grow up with this respecting your nature, respecting what is given to you. So there's always a sense of taking care of what we have, and it's a blessing to be able to do. No matter how many degrees my children might have, for them to be able to form in terms of art, to take care of themselves economically is very, very important. It's a true gift.
And so the clay is really important. Is the water that you use to reconstitute the clay also really important?
Everything is turned over.
What do you do? Do you use rainwater? Do you use tap water?
Tap water, but it's kind of neat that you think about it, because I was just thinking about that question, or like we use all the elements, because we use air and water and
Fire. Yeah.
And wind. To dry out the pieces.
Yep.
So this is very, it's kind of neat because of the water that we use is very special too. It's a very special part of this process because we know that without the water that the clay would not be exposed. This is how we shape our pieces. The water is very important. So is the wind, the fire, all these things that give us the clay and the ability to make these pieces. So it is, like my mom said, a very humbling process when you think about it. So we never forget that, or we can't get away too much from that. So, you know, if we're feeling that we don't want to be maybe making a piece that day, maybe we feel like we want to fire, and if we can, then we'll fire, or if we want to polish someday, and the elements just have to be just right to polish.
So what has to be just right in the polishing?
Well, when you're polishing, I've talked with other potters about when they polish during the time of day. It can't be too hot. The air has to be just right. There has to be enough moisture in the air. Sometimes we've even added things like we'll put on a boiling pot of hot water or humidifier so that there's moisture in the air.
She uses a humidifier too to give it a little bit of moisture because the slip on the polishing dries really, really quickly. And Dusty likes to use the humidifier. And it really seemed to help kind of make the polish a little bit more palatable so that it doesn't dry too quick. And so people have talked about being in a shower all day long with the steam on, the hot water on so they can polish. Or other people have told us, well, I get up at 1 o'clock at night and I'll be polishing till the early morning when the air is cool. And I've done that
and
quite
there's some
often.
humidity.
Yes, humidity. I've done that.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's funny because we don't answer our phones. We don't answer the door.
No.
We don't even look up sometimes because we're so focused and concentrated on what we're doing. And we have to because that's how you get this amazing polish. That's how you need to do it.
You can't leave it.
Yeah, you can't leave it. So you
got
to stay with it.
And how many times do you polish the piece?
We'll polish, let's see, we put about 3 or 4 layers of slip, and then we'll polish. How many times do you polish yours, Mom?
Well, on this one, I get a very large brush, about maybe 1.5 inches wide. If it's a big piece, I'll get a larger brush and put my polish in a larger bowl, and I'll wet the pot. I'll wet the pot down after sand it, absolutely without any floss or any bumps, and I'm ready to put on my slip. And I take the first coat, and if I can't hold it, I usually get a peg or a wood, and I'll hold it like this, and then I'll brush it all around. And then I have a little plastic cover with a little bit of lard, so that if I have to do it, I let it dry for about a minute, and I'll put it down, and it's still wet, right? So I can't hold it. I put it down to the plastic like this, so it won't stick to the plastic. Then I look at it before it dries. I do the second coat up to about 3-4 coats. If you put too much coat in, your stone will actually stick, and it tells you've had too much. So you can take a sponge and carefully go over it real quickly and start polishing. I start polishing immediately. And if you let it dry, you can tell if it's got streaks that you waited too long. So it's very tricky. You get to a point where you really know when to quit. If you over polish, you can scratch it. So anyway, it does take a lot of, trial and error and knowing what to do, when not to do whatever. So you get really good. Sometimes our polishing is wonderful, and sometimes mine is better. Say, well, I didn't do so well here. It's my grandson is incredible with polishing. He's really, really, really good. And I'm saying, I want to do as good, so we sort of have like, Grandma, you did amazing on that one, So it's kind of nice because we're sort of competitive with each other. Say, well, I can do better with the horse or something, But anyway, it's kind of nice. You can share mistakes. Or one day my grandson said, Grandma, I just can't polish this wedding jar. What am I doing wrong? And so I said, okay, leave it. Let me try it. And I tried, but I couldn't do it. Something was happening with the clay. I think the mixture of the clay was really bad, and we couldn't polish it. The polish wouldn't stay. And so sometimes you kind of consult each other. It's kind of nice to share, I'm not doing something right, what's going on, But we learn from each other a whole lot.
Yeah, we learn from each other, and then we also have fun as we're sitting there and we're talking about whatever the day comes along, whatever's happening in our lives, or like families do. And so sometimes we'll sit there and we'll talk about whatever we're watching on TV. And what's really fun is that when I was working by myself and I could watch a movie, when I meant watch a movie, I would watch a movie that I've seen maybe 10 times, just so I could have the background on and I knew what scene was on. And I can sit there and I make pinch pots. And so my mom and I work together and we're talking about the shows that we like to watch.
What shows do you like to watch?
right now. What show are we watching, Mom?
Skinwalker.
Skinwalker Ranch. So awesome.
It actually
It
happened.
is so cool.
It's not too far from Utah where Dusty lives. And it was terrifying because we didn't know about skinwalkers. I did know
But you used to live in Roosevelt,
well, my
Utah.
daughter-in-law is half Navajo, and she knew about skinwalkers. It's all related to the paranormal, which I've always been fascinated with the weird topics. So I'm really into ufology. And so I tell the kids, my paintings come from a dream that I have. My fifth dimension dream is actually from a dream that I had, and I decided that I would project it. I dreamt one night that these two figures were coming towards me, and I was in a little forest, but I wasn't scared. So my dreams were actually transposed on a paper, which often happens. So if you see my paintings, you're going to see a UFO over the mountain that I drew, and it's exciting because sometimes you can use your dream state or where you're at the moment sometimes come on. So that's how I work. My mind works a little bit different, and it's kind of fun.
So about 10 years ago, right here on the plaza, there was an incident that makes some people's blood curl a little
Why?
bit.
What happened?
Because what happened is a mountain lion decided that it was going to break into a shop. Here on the plaza, and it hung out in the bathroom until Fish and Game came to retrieve it. But you tell a Navajo that, and they don't go. They don't want to go. They don't walk on the block.
That's scary.
Shop.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Well, I saw on Instagram about 2 weeks ago a moose in Alaska walked into a grocery store.
Oh, that's cool. I got to see a moose this year up at the ski area. And I actually got video of it. Yeah.
I heard that there's
The
moose
one,
coming over.
the one moose,
Yep.
Wayward Moose, was up at the ski valley. I know.
I
I
know.
like
so
the
cool.
shape on that already.
Yep.
I like the shape on that.
So that is really cool. Yeah, so that's what we do, because yesterday I know we had a whole discussion, I think from like 9 in the morning till 11 in the morning about UFOs and whether we believe in them. And so it goes into like, what else? What else are we talking about?
Well,
It
my
goes from one topic to
daughter,
another.
Michaela, she sent me a text just when I was about to go to bed, about close to 10. Her boyfriend and her were delivering pizzas because he works in that area. And that's in Las Cruces, okay? So she showed me a picture of something that they saw in the sky at that moment. It was like taking 5 minutes before she called me. But it was like IAP, which is a unidentified
UAP.
aerial, thing. And so, phenomena. And so she said, Mom, Damon and I saw this, and I'm really kind of excited. What do you think it is, Mom? But I couldn't say it clearly, so that kind of affects us. We're talking about all
So
this
we,
crazy stuff.
we like it so much,
Yeah.
and talk about it so much that last year, we did something that we've never done before, is that we went to the
Roswell.
we went to the UFO convention in
Yeah.
Roswell, didn't we? And that was so cool.
And-
we're like
I'm
big geeks. Yeah. So
Anyway, the big highlight is on my phone.
who did you get to meet? Who did you meet?
Okay. I met the UFO guy that was taken up by the UFOs, and his name is Tristan.
Travis.
Travis. And I met him, and I have a photo in my phone with Travis. I was so excited.
Fire in the sky.
And then we went to visit his lecture. We heard him, and I was really carried away by him. So we put UFOs on our paintings, on our pottery.
I
it
haven't
has a
yet,
lot
but I
of
feel like it.
effect.
It
Oh,
needs
yeah.
to be done, doesn't it? We need to do a UAP on our pottery. Yeah,
I've
because
seen
it's so much
UFO
fun.
pictures on pots. I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Well, we have one pot at the moment that is by Rosemary Lone Wolf, which actually has the space shuttle on it.
So cool.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
there are definitely some interesting things
Totally
that
do
that get
I'm
put on.
fascinated.
UFO pot.
I'm a believer of what we're doing today is my daughter and
Hi.
I'm designing, and she's doing a pot, and we're supposed to be on YouTube or whatever, and he's our boss right now.
And we're talking about our favorite shows.
So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
what's happening.
We're
So,
just demonstrating
yeah.
how to make, how the process of pottery. So
do you have
it's
your
pretty
lip
fun.
gloss? No.
No, I don't have it
Did you
in
put
my
my
pocket.
pottery away? They put my pottery.
Yeah,
Okay.
I put it away. Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, so this is the pot in progress.
This is the pot in progress.
Yeah, so
Yes.
so the next step with that one is,
Yes, that's the first step, and it's a 15-step process.
Okay.
I just decided to write it down. And this one is already almost ready to sand. It's in a rough stage, very rough. And
but that's
then,
been fired.
yeah, this is a pot.
No, this one has not been fired yet. So what we're going to do is that what I'm doing is that I'm building a piece showing how
Yeah.
the coils are
the
made.
coil method. So it's very
And then
simple.
it gets
Yes.
to this.
Usually you roll the snakes.
Yes,
I
yes.
make mine kind of long, and then I put them around the pot. Yeah.
And you build
So
it up that way.
yes, so you imagine this is how I start all my pieces, whether they're
She kind of wants to have it look like this,
Yeah.
sort of like that.
yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it up, just using coils and build up the piece exactly how I did with this one. This piece has been air dried, and it's about 4 or 5 days that it's been air drying. It's ready to be sanded, and this is what they look like before they're sanded. And you can see they're really raw. You can even see the little
Yeah.
bumps. This is from my fingers. It's very raw on the inside. So what I've done at this point is about a day from now, or maybe at the end of today, after a few hours, I would take it out of the pookie base, because there's going to be like a rim where the bowl is, and I'll get my Kemper tool. Where's my Kemper tool? Here it is. So I'll just smooth it out like this, and then just to make sure that there's no lines on the bottom. And then what I'll do is I'll set it back in the base and let it sit for about 4 or 5 days, of course, turning it over so that it dries evenly. And then what I'll do is I'll take it outside and I'll sand it with sandpaper, and it's going to get really fine, really, really pretty. So the shape comes out at that point. And then what's going to happen next is that I'll be ready to polish it.
Take a sponge, though.
Take
You
a
have to wet
sponge.
it down.
Yeah, you're going to have to take a sponge and wet it down.
The
And
sanded
this
part.
is what they, if right in front of my mom, you can see that jar with the
This
red
one, I
slip.
just did it really fast, and it's not quite ready to even, it's not even finished. But the little ridges were very difficult to do, and you have to take a stone that fits the ridges in order to do it. So this one is not even done at the top. I just wanted to show the people that we used to slip. It's in a liquid form now, but it was rock before. You have to strain it. This is not a clay. It's a slip derivative, almost like the kind that is used for commercial is different. This one comes from the stone that we have to pick up near Albuquerque. And it's really precious because it comes in stratic form. You have to dig it out. It's a lot of work. And so when we get it, it's amazing. You know, we have to strain it. It's a lot of work. And at that point, after it's sanded, then you get a brush and you put the slip about 3-4 times. And before it dries completely, you start polishing. And if you're lucky, you get a good polish without any streaks, and it's ready to fire. And what I'm doing is I use an X-Acto blade knife, and that's my only tool. I start drawing. And I did a little preliminary. I'm doing a water serpent, and it's going to be around the top. The drawing will be at the top. And I can change it any way I want, you know.
How long from start to finish?
How long? It'll take me sometimes several days before the top will be finished. And because it's all hand done, you have to really I just started at the bottom. When I get bored or tired at the bottom, then I'll go transfer to the top. And I just kind of draw very freehand. You know, I know what I want, so I draw freehand. And if you make a mistake, nobody knows. You just change your process. It's that simple. But sometimes you just can't change it anymore. Sometimes you can really make mistakes, and you say, well, I can either work on it or put it back in a bucket because it's not fired. It turns back into clay. But at this point, it could be high fired, and there's nothing you can do to change it. So you can either break it down and make it into a bowl or some other kind of idea on that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you'll do, so you could see the clay. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is you can see the volcanic ash in there actually. So what I need to do is just simply knead it and then begin to build coils. So this process is about 15 steps that we do. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. And so it can take about a couple weeks to even more than a couple weeks from start to finish, from getting the clay to the very end product, which is where my mom is at. This is what the pots look like when they're out of the firing. Of course, there's no design. All the design work is done after the firing. So the etching is the very, very last step in the process. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Just for your information, we have been coming here. Well, we have a place in El Dorado, but we've been coming here for years, and we have been buying wedding vases for probably 20 years. Mm-hmm. And people, friends and family, when there's a wedding, they get a wedding vase from here. And we've probably given 25 or 30 gifts as wedding vases from your people. And we think it's a wonderful way to spread the message about the Native Americans' tradition.
Oh, it's wonderful that you do that. Yes, love the wedding vases. And those are very special because of the fact that you have to know that they are not very easy to make. My mom has done a couple that she's done recently, and she has one set aside, and I thought, Mom, that's just absolutely beautiful because they're just so special, and they have a special meaning, don't they? And they can be used at the wedding, and of course you know that I hope nobody's broken them, because if they get divorced, they have to break their wedding vows.
Yeah.
So
we just found one in the closet. We always keep a spare in case somebody's. So we just found one. So we're all set. We just heard that somebody's getting married. Yes.
Somebody's getting married, so you have to get a. Yeah. No, we didn't bring any cards.
I don't know where my purse is, but I think I had a little card there.
But this is all of their work, and you can take a card from the gallery, and that would be just fine.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Dusty, and this is my mom, Bernice.
How long are you going to be here?
Some of our work is right here. I'm Bernice.
How long are you going to
I'm Bernice, and that's Dusty.
How long have you been
Until
doing
about
pottery?
4 o'clock today.
Till 4, yes.
be back and forth? You might be coming in and see
Yes, come by and see us. See how we're progressing on our work.
He's probably going to keep us till midnight.
No lunch break or water break. No, it's like, no.
Yeah, my daughter is Dusty, and some of her
We really
work
crack the whip around
I
here,
know,
don't we?
I know, right?
This
Derek's
is
a
some of
slave
our
driver.
And I'm designing. My part is to show how I design. So I've been so busy talking, I've done very little, but it's coming along. So I'm going to put this water serpent on the top of the pottery. Yeah. But it's going to be different.
What has happened with this cup so far? It's been polished.
It's been polished using the slip, the liquid slip, and the polish. Yes, that's the color of the slip. It's red, and this one has not been fired. And I did it real quick just to show you what it looks like before it's fired. It can be really red fired or black with manure or wood. It depends on what you're using. So this one's not fired. It's not done. It's really rough on top, and the polishing can be better.
And
But yeah,
are these your polishing rods?
yeah. And this one actually is real difficult. Anytime you have like any kind of different movements, it's very hard to polish. Very hard. So you have to use a stone. Maybe you have 10 of them that are perfect. You know, some are very sharp to go into the really tiny crevice, or they have to have a wide. Even stones are particular. Even if it looks good, if it has no flat surface, it's really hard to use. Sometimes you need one with no flat, but go into the curves without cutting into it. So you have to have a number of stones, and sometimes you have your own favorite. Sometimes they're easy to hold. Some are beautiful, but they're terrible. You know, so we have to have different stones for different purpose. And when after that's fired,
once you find the right stones, do you just keep those stones for years and years?
You can, yes.
Do they wear down?
Well, you know,
not really. No, we've had some break, but not wear down in the way that you would think that they would just wear down from use. No.
Sometimes people can buy a nice stone and they'll take it to a lapidary shop and they'll have them rounded off, you know. Because sometimes you can't find stone. It's really hard to find a really, really good stone.
I bet.
And some of this are good. This one is nice because it has rounded edges. And it'd be good for a place where you have a curve. And then you have to have a flat one to do the flat side. So this has been, it has been fired outdoors. So I'm doing my design.
And you're cutting into the fired and polished.
Well, you can actually do carving if you want before the firing.
Okay, I didn't know when that was done. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes.
Where does this slit, what region does that come from?
This one actually comes from different people have to find it. Sometimes I have artist friends who have picked up basically every color except maybe pinkish, but the blacks are made from a spinach, or some of this is the natural color, and it's a beautiful color red, but when you fire it, it depends on what you use. If I fire this very, very high, it's going to be so stone hard that I can't take my X-Acto knife. So it becomes, sometimes you can overfire. We do that all the time, especially because when you put your firing, they have to sit either upside down, but you got the hole somewhere so it doesn't bust. So basically you get the bottom kind of more high fired. And if I can't design it, then I have to really be careful not to overfire. And I'm not going too far down. I'm just taking I've gotten as many as 4 types of clay. I like the red because the red shows up as a beige.
Oh, that is
and
beautiful.
The black shows up as a gray. And you can use that for a design purpose.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's part of the art.
Yeah.
Using
But
art.
it's all
That is
coiled.
gorgeous. Thank
Yeah.
you for talking me through
Oh, you're
that.
very welcome. That's why I'm here. Yeah.
I love that you work together, too. That
I
adds
know,
a lot
isn't
of
it
more
fun?
I know she
Mother
dragged me
and
over.
daughter.
She goes, Mom, you gotta go. I said, okay. But this
is
young
what we
man
do
and her
at
mother
home.
and his mother have been very, very kind in they carry our work. This is some of our work. I'm Bernice and my daughter is Dusty. So you can tell the same technique, but where we differ is the shape, and the design is very personable.
The color of this lip, too, is unique. That's
Well,
beautiful.
sometimes, I kind of wish that there was more color, and it makes me want to use a different color. Like now they're using a lot of bright acrylics, but I want to stay more traditional. I
Yeah.
like to stay more traditional. Yeah.
It's timeless that way.
It's an immense amount of time. This is just a small portion of the 15 steps that go into making this piece. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
and
hours.
it takes a family to do a lot of it. Because I can't dig. There's no way I can get under the canyon. Sometimes you have to crawl in to get the slip. And sometimes you do the same with the raw. This is the clay that has been dried, but when you pull it up from the cliff, it's like Hershey bar. Beautiful. It's chocolate.
Really?
It's beautiful. Yes, it's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, wow. And it
Yeah, it's
transforms into
beautiful.
that color.
But it looks blah when it's this shape. But when you turn it into a liquid form, it's really beautiful. It's like a slightly darker red than this.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's what it looks like when it's absolutely dry. Look at the difference on that.
It really lightens up,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
and you can see the shine on that, and it tells you it's clay.
Okay.
Yeah, because look at you can feel
As
that.
opposed to a
Yeah,
stone.
yeah.
Oh, I see.
It's like see the shine on that? It's already like it's beginning to be polished.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like Hershey
Out
bars.
of the ground like that?
Yeah, yeah. And there's a difference between mud and clay. When we go dig and we scratch it with your fingers and it makes into a ball form, it's definitely clay. And if you go to the canyon after a rain and if you're walking through mud, there's a huge difference. Mud will not stick together, but clay does. So try it. Sometime go walk out in a canyon if you're living around here and try it. If it sticks together in a ball, it's definitely clay. And sometimes the clay is incredible. You can have gray, you can have dark brown, light brown, almost a beige. The gray turns into a beige when you fire.
How do you get debris and rocks and other things out of the clay?
Oh, well,
start
like
making something
this
beautiful?
has to step number one. This has been dug. We put it in a bucket, container, tub, or whatever. Then you put the water. You have a whole bunch of water. And it takes about 3 days for it to liquefy. And then we have very fine sifters that are commercial. Sometimes we sift it once and take all the sticks out, the debris, the rocks. Then you sift it again, and it becomes very fine and soft, almost like a gravy without any lumps. And it's really wet, so you put it out in the sun. Some people have a fancy aperture like a pillow, and they put their wet stuff in it, and they let it hang and let it drip into another. Everybody has their own way of doing the methods. I like for mine to sit in the sun and wait for the water to evaporate. Then you go out the next day, and I'm taking care of my clay almost 3-4 times a day. If I know the water is going down, I throw it out, and then about the 4th day, you finally have a clay that is a lot drier than this consistency. And then you have your volcanic ash that has been sifted twice. This one is still in raw form, and you can feel, if you feel it, you can feel the grain. Touch that. You can feel the little bit of grain between your fingers. It still needs one more sifting. Yeah, you can feel the grain. Now you want, it'll become like flour, and then you have to measure the bucket that now has no more water. Then you have to measure, I like to measure, if it's 6 inches, then I measure half of that exactly and a tiny bit more. You got to learn, you have to kind of learn. You can tell just by doing the work how much to put or how much not to. Sometimes you can kind of over measure, and you can tell when you have too much. It's hard to design, it becomes rock hard. So sometimes you just make errors, and sometimes we think it's a deposit of clay itself. And sometimes even this beautiful piece may not come out exactly the way you want. Too much of this, not enough, will crack. Too much of it will become too hard. It takes a little bit of knowledge to do it over and over, and you get pretty good at estimating.
What does the volcanic ash do? What does it add to the clay?
I don't know the chemical composition, but this actually came from a volcano that was active many, many, many years ago in New Mexico. A lot of it comes from the Jemez area, but from that one volcano before civilization came in, I imagine in the Albuquerque area, if you're coming up from Albuquerque, you can see the volcanic rocks that are still scattered. Yes. And it came all the way down to the Calderas place, even to New Mexico, down the Espanola area. This has been gotten from the Espanola area, and when you're driving, you can see the strata of white, like flour. That's volcanic ash, but it's on private land. So sometimes you have to find a place that's not private, and this one was from the area around Espanola. And it comes in a very chunky form, and we have to grind down that stuff and put it through the sifter once or twice. This one is still raw. It's a lot of work. It's a 15, 16 step process. And what I have here is just a small portion.
That's a really helpful just to see it listed.
Yeah, it is. I know from the time you have to get your wood, and that's really tricky. The kind of wood you use determines the color of pot you might get. I know, it's a lot of work. But I consider a gift to be able to get something from the earth and turn it into something beautiful, and this is some of our work. I'm Bernice and my daughter Dusty. You know, I have forced my children to get a college degree. She's a therapist, but she's in Utah. She came from Alaska. And she went on a winter day because of love. She decided she would go, I gotta go, and Mom. So her dad drives her through this winter weather. And she ended up 4 years, and now she's back in Utah. So in between work, she's doing her pottery. And she's forming one. Now on that one, if you go too far out away from your base, you're in trouble. You'll fall apart. Yeah. I like the form. She has a very nice technique of form that I don't have. And, you know, I taught her basically. She told me in college, Mom, I'm broke. I said, good, here's some clay, start. And she said, Mom! I said, and she's really good. Some of her designs are beautiful, like the pyramid. And she's really good with, she's incredible with her beautiful horses. And she just does it, just take this X-Acto knife, and you start working on that. People tell me, haven't you ever gotten hurt or cut? I said, one time I was so tired after 4 days of designing, I kind of fell asleep and I felt something drop on my thigh. And I had that, I said, damn, that's gonna hurt when I take it out. And immediately I had to take a shower so I could wash it off and take care of it. But I've never had an accident since then. You know, I learned that when you're tired, it's time to quit. So basically, you know, she's forming them. I usually like to put my coils, make them long, and then just draped around them. So it's a slow process. Now she's ready to make the top or whatever she wants to do. I think she kind of drew that she wanted something like that.
Yeah, because it starts out kind of like that, but then I'm thinking, well, it could.
I think it's more wider.
Yeah, it's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
But that's the neat part about it is, I was forming this piece.
Did you do the tiny one too?
And I did the tiny one too.
Oh,
they were asking me about how I started my shapes.
She did it by a ball.
This is what Mom taught me. I learned the process from my mother, of course, and she's self-taught. This is just a simple pinch pot, of course. Just get a ball of clay and then just stick your finger in it and then just start to form the pieces. That's how the little pieces are formed, as you can see. The ones by the pyramid.
If you're watching your favorite program on TV, you have a bucket of clay and you sit there forming the balls. Pretty soon you get so excited you have like 15 pieces, and it means money. That can sell for a very good price.
Yeah.
And you gotta love it, otherwise it's not you know, it's not really always pleasurable. It's so much work. And now I'm getting ready for a show in 3 weeks here in Santa Fe, the Native Treasures Show, and then we're both invited for the big Indian market in August. And at my age, it will be my 40th year at Indian Market. 40 years. I started pottery in 1981. Yeah, and I'm still learning.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, you're very welcome. We'll see you for the Native Market or Indian Market.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah. This is so interesting to watch you because I've only seen it when you're throwing pottery, not with the hand.
I don't know how to use a wheel.
Well,
it's so strange because we don't use a wheel, and this is just like how we do at home. Because
so
we sit.
Much longer.
Yes, it takes much longer. But this is the way that the traditional pottery has been made.
Well, look at all the things that you have in this shop. They're basically traditional.
So
handmade
most of this
pieces.
Is hand formed,
Hand
not
pieces.
wheel.
No.
Yeah.
All of them.
I know. I've seen them really, you know.
Yeah.
I had arthritis, so my doctor told me, how many hours are you in a wheel? I said, I'm the wheel. I'm no wheel.
Yeah, we don't.
And he said,
Yeah, this is the wheel, right?
I wish, it was. And I tried to wheel in art because I have a degree in art, but I had clay all over the walls, but I could never get it. And my teacher said, go freeform. That was it.
That was it.
I got hooked.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
So anyone else in your family creates art or type of art?
It is.
Yeah.
It's this is not, nothing is commercialized. It's a 15, 18 step process that's just, everything is the way our ancestors did pottery a long time ago.
But we come from an extensive family of artists. There's about maybe 50 of us or more.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's maybe, I would say it's probably easier to name the number of people who don't do art in the family.
In our family, there's so many artists, writers. My husband is from a very prolific, artistic, intellectual family. They write. We've got kids in college. This is just, I started, we have college degrees, but this, what I do, is sort of like a side hobby. I love it. And I also started painting. I just sold a painting yesterday. I was like, oh, I sold a painting. We were all happy.
That's amazing. Well, I would think in order to be able to make these artistic designs on the pottery, you have to have some ability to draw and paint.
Yeah, all you do is carry this design from the pot onto paper. So I do watercolor, I do acrylics, pen and ink, markers, colored pencil. I have tons of work, and my first painting will be here at the August show ever. I'm known for only my pottery, and I'm not famous, but I have my own clientele,
Yes.
And what you see is just I do large pots, tiny ones, miniature ones. Some lady, we gave her a ball of clay, and she made a little tiny.
Here's your little pot right here.
It's so cute. I said,
I
it's
kept
easy.
it, and then we named her honorary Santa Clara.
And that's considered miniature. If that were polished and you were selling it, it'd be about $100.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Now,
This are expensive. This are at a pretty good medium range.
So the amazing thing about the designs is that the neat thing about art and the design concepts is that they're very individual, but the process is just very similar. We can work up to this point, and my mom designs will be different than mine. But somewhere there's this connectedness that we all have similarities in our pieces, but it's strange because they're always sitting in our head. Like I'll look at a pot and I'll be thinking, oh, I like horses. I like things that add movement and designs. You could see one of my horse pieces over there next to the pyramid.
Right over here.
And
she has a good sense of anatomy. I don't. My horses have 4 legs that are like all left.
5-legged horses.
But I do better with hummingbirds and flowers, which I love to do. And I have my water serpent design on that big pot. That's, it's going to be totally different than this one. Yeah, it's mythological, so I can be creative. I can do anything I want with it. It's never been seen. It's like a tale, a culture tale that went way back. He takes care of all the waterways of the world.
He brings the water.
And we learn respect as children. Don't ever throw stuff in there like trash. Take care of the rivers. It's a good way to teach your children how to care for our natural world. And that's what I love about it. You respect the clay. Don't be throwing it around. I don't dare see my grandkids throwing this clay. It's not mud. I said, no, you don't touch grandma's clay.
We get it actually from where we live. It's about 10 minutes from where we live in Santa Clara, Pueblo. So there's a clay pit. Yeah? You're going to go there? Fun.
Oh, nice.
There's also like a nice artist, and isn't there like a runs or something out
Yes.
There's Pouillet Cliffs.
there? Yes.
We're not too far from there. We live right around the corner. But you know, I mean, we don't live in the cliffs, but can you imagine? I think I would fit very nicely in the cliffs. But with this,
very
my
tiny.
husband's like
Yeah, I was gonna
5'11".
From what I've seen, you're going to have to be really
Yeah.
small.
I think
Yeah.
they were.
Well,
Yeah.
even some of the houses we've seen,
Yeah.
the doorways and things are
Yeah.
very short. My husband's
Very tiny.
6'2".
Keep hitting your head.
I think he'd have a few bumps on his head.
Yeah.
You're-
If you
yeah,
get a
you're
chance
pretty.
to see, if you can see Pouillet, that'd be great, but also Bandelier too as well, because it'll give you an idea of, that's where our ancestors, they started from Mesa Verde, they came down to Pouillet, they lived there for a while, and as they started progressing down into moving away from living in Bandelier and Pouillet Cliffs, then there was always pottery. You will see in the museums that the pottery was part of their lives, as it started out as for storage, for storing seeds, storing food. It's the same kind of clay. It's just an amazing process because the connection to that is, when you think about it, it's
amazing.
it goes far back.
You're
And
using the
this is-
same
yes,
clay that they
yes.
use for utilitarian
Same
purposes,
place,
like you said,
yes,
seeds, but you're
utilitarian
making
purposes,
it
yes.
beautiful. And
Yes, yes.
So do you still make any for your actual usage, like? For
Well,
use
we
in your
do.
house?
This clay, Santa Clara clay, is more, they call it decorative because it's more showy. But my mom is actually from Taos Pueblo, and they have the more utilitarian micaceous clay. And you can use that. They still make, people make bean pots that they still use for cookware. Yes, and it's waterproof. Our clay is more decorative. It is not waterproof, but we still have the same basic, very traditional method of making pottery. As you can see, we gather our clay. This is what it looks like out of the strata, and it's very oily and it's like a chocolate bar.
Now, how deep down is that?
It's it just depends on if you can find a strata. We just went to go get clay about maybe a couple weeks ago, and we were lucky enough where there was a strata that was, it was a whole cliff, and then the strata was about this much. So we have to dig it out, and we have to put it in buckets. And then we put water in it to get it wet enough to sift it. And we sift it with just our hand, with just a sifter, on buckets that we get from Home Depot or Lowe's. And we're sitting on a bench, and we're sitting on the porch, and we don't buy our clay. We don't use a wheel. So once the clay and the impurities are sifted out of the clay, then we add the volcanic ash, what we also get too. It's kind of like baking a cake. So we add the volcanic ash, which kind of adds the, I'm not sure if it's like a binding agent or something that happens to it. So we have to do that. And so we also mix the impurities out of the volcanic ash.
Imagine that this came from thousands of years ago in an area, and we're connected to
And we're
this
still
day.
doing the same
Because
way.
a long time ago, they didn't have I don't think they had knowledge of it. So they used river sand, you know, the silt that comes down in a ditch during the rain. It accumulates in a really fine sand. And I hear that that's what pottery used a long time ago. Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense because some of that river sand is very fine. So that was their temper, but now I don't know who discovered this, but it's a very, very difficult to find. It's very, it can be commercialized. I've tried commercial clay that's mica, and it's horrible. It just doesn't have the same elasticity. And this is a different kind of, I'm self-taught because I'm from Taos. And we don't do the polish ware. It's more pragmatic, utilitarian ware because we use it for cookware, and it's beautiful, beautiful. And I'm still doing both. I just made some clay, and Dusty tried to make an octopus with arms, but she had a hard time with the arms. She go, Mom, I can't do it. I said, well, I'm going to have to help you with that. But it's really pragmatic clay. It's not like this can be high fired, but the process that we're using has to be a sgraffito, kind of a etched on drawing. but we can go any which way. We can carve it and then make it so that you can't design it, you can hot fire it. So it just depends on what we want out of the natural process. That little one, the beige one that you see, goes a little ways. It's been here for quite a while, but Derek likes it. He goes, no, I think I like it the way it is, but it's fired. It's just, I really liked it because it's just pure. There's no slip on it. This is the slip that you put on your pottery after it's smooth and it's not fired. So that's the color of it. And you can get anywhere from very high fiery to very dark black or in between brown. Our work is called chocolate ware because it's more a brown. And that takes a little bit of trial and error. You have to kind of know your flame and the number of times that you've done it. You can get really dark brown or too black or, you know, in between. I like a little bit of red on mine. Right, I like the different, I've gotten as many as 4 colors when I fire. But you get pretty sophisticated knowing when to pull it out or when to not put too much wood. So this is just some of our work.
Thank you for sharing.
You are very welcome. Well, enjoy Taos if you're going up to
or Santa Clara.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, if you're here, you got to visit Taos. It's an amazing pueblo where I was born. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you have a great time. Yeah. Well, how are we doing?
You're doing great, I think.
Yeah,
You want to take a water break, Mom?
Yeah. Do you need to take a break or anything? Or are you good?
Well, I think I need to walk around a little bit.
Okay, well, let me
Yeah.
undo your mic then. Well, give us 1 second, okay?
Yeah.
We're going to...
You have to unhook my...
Your microphone, you're all mic'd up, Mom.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I was getting
that.
sleepy. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you're all good.
Okay. Yeah, I do need to kind of stand up. Oh, my legs get stiff. That's nice. That's very pretty. You're going to do a little bit thicker right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice.
I am going to do a little bit thicker right
Yeah,
there.
oh yeah, I think you should because once you... That's a nice shade.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add...
Make it a little higher.
Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit more to the neck.
Looks like you didn't
Open
bring
it up a
enough
little bit more.
wood.
I know, right? I know.
Is that all
I think
you
I'm
got?
going to have to take this one apart. It's going to be really sad, so I'm going to do this.
Why are you taking it apart?
Well, this one I'm going to leave for a little bit, but I was thinking of changing the neck a little bit.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, instead of taking it apart, I'm just going to use my fingers to just make the opening a little bit wider so you can see. This is how I do it. I just kind of bring the clay down and then use my fingers. I'm always using my fingers to gauge the thickness of the pot too as well. Being mindful if there's some clay that I can use and kind of bring up the neck a little bit more. So I do that.
Is this because you only brought a small amount of clay today?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to see if I have enough for, I'm pretty sure I have enough for a neck. So I'm going to do that instead. I really like necks on pots. So I'm going to do that and make it a little bit wider. So that'll work out really well. Just like that. And then what I'll do is wipe off my hands.
So you generally do a whole lot of animals on your pieces. Where do you draw the animals out before you just go for it, or do you just go for it?
I just go for it.
And it's all from memory?
I just draw animals that I like. I like, for instance, the horse. You'll see my pots have a lot of horses on them, and I've been doing them for several years. The more realistic type of horses I started doing, I'm not sure, maybe about, I want to say maybe less than 10 years. Before that, they were maybe more stylized, more abstract. I love horses. I love the way they lend themselves to any size of pot, any shape of pot. I love the idea of movement. and birds too, ravens. Love ravens. Love to do that. Hummingbirds. Let's see, what else do I like to do? I have started doing elk. I've done trout pieces. I don't see any trout pieces here.
They sell quickly.
I know.
A lot of fishers.
A lot of fisher people. Yeah, I was going to say fishermen, because fisher women too as well. Yeah, fisher. Yeah, and I do that because we also do that too as a family. We love to go fishing.
You know, something that I'm reminded of looking at your work, especially with the horses. Are those cave paintings that they found in Lascaux, for example? You know, the way that the artists back then would make use of the three-dimensional quality of the stone wall in order to kind of bring movement into the images. And there's something very consistent from, you know, with that sort of way of rendering images on uneven surfaces. And the way that both you and your mother render movement, especially you and your birds and horses on these pieces. So that's something I wanted to
that's cool.
to mention.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and there aren't a lot of artists doing it that I'm aware of. So just a bit of appreciation.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always find that I'm looking at a pot and I'm thinking there might be a little bit of edge to it, as you can see with I'm just thinking about the horse pot, and it has a little bit of I want to say a little bit of an edge on the neck. And so I thought that would be perfect for a horse, and just having his head turn just enough where his mane is given movement by that little edge of the pot.
Right. It's very interesting to... Yeah, and so when you're building the piece, you're kind of... I'm wondering how much of it is... you know, because the shapes you're building these pots into are quite unusual. I mean, they're all a bit unique. You know, there are certain sort of forms that you see again, but, you know, there's sometimes, like you said, little edges or slightly, you know, straighter portions or sort of cornered portions. When you're doing that, are you just kind of going with what appears to you and then sort of... I'm curious if there's any sort of premeditation about what animal will go on there, or...
I think there is, in terms of when the pot is done.
Right.
When I'm thinking about, let's say if I want to do horse pots, what I like is a pot that is elongated.
Right.
I love the idea of I do square pieces. I want to call them square, but the idea of a elongated side to do a design on.
Right.
So I like that idea of that a horse does a couple of things. It can add movement where I put one horse and then another horse, and it just kind of lends itself to the movement around the pot.
Right.
So you can appreciate the whole pot. But I also like the idea of top to bottom. And so a horse will do that for me because I love to draw the horse starting with the head first.
Okay.
So it's always starting at the nose. I'm not sure why, but that's how I gain proportion, is just starting at the nose. Every horse is started at the nose. And then I'll draw up, and then the head, and then the neck, and then kind of the way down.
Interesting.
Yeah, just the way I want someone to kind of look at the pot. So I don't draw them out.
Right, so you're drawing a path for the eyes.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. And I can tell if it's going to be proportioned within 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Right.
Because I've had pieces where I have drawn, since I don't pre-draw them or sketch them out, I have to do it by sight.
Right.
So when I'm designing a pot, what I'll do is I'll have a shelf that's essentially at eye level. And I'll put the pot up every 15 to 20 minutes or so and gauge the design.
Right.
And also, if it's concave or it's convex, it can also change the shape of the pot. the design.
Yeah.
So what I have to do is I have to look at it and I say, okay, so I know that the horse is starting from the nose and I'll go up.
Yeah.
But I have to stop every 15 or 20 minutes just to gauge the proportion of the horse.
Right. You step back.
Yeah, I have to step back.
Because I notice, for me, when I'm drawing or painting or something, it can be easy to get really into a little part.
Yeah.
And then you step back and you're like, oh, the balance is not.
Yeah.
I lost balance.
Whoa, it's like, whoa, it's really wonky. Yeah, because it becomes so, you become so focused with it
Right.
that it's really difficult to do that. So
Well,
I
find that hard enough on
Yeah.
2 dimensions.
Yeah, yeah. So
Much
it's
less.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So I have to stop every 15, 20 minutes, like I said, just for that reason, because I don't draw anything out. So I'll be thinking, I'll look at a piece, like for instance with my mom's piece, I'm going to just get this real quick,
Yeah.
is that this is a piece that's not designed, but it's fired. So you can see how beautiful this is. It's just gorgeous, right? And so I'm going to put clay on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that what she's going to do is she looks at it and she's going to say, well, this is a design I want on it. So I'll look at it too. And what's really neat is that it's just organic. So you're like thinking, I want to do this design on there.
Right.
And I'll just start with my X-Acto blade and I'll start drawing the foreground design first, which is the horse.
Right.
Or let's say if I want to put a bird on there, and I'll just draw it out.
You'll draw it out,
Draw it out, yeah.
Wow.
On the pot. And
Lovely.
this is what they look like. They're just beautiful.
They're just
pieces on their
gorgeous. Yeah,
own.
yeah, truly.
Except I'm with my wet hands. You don't want to do that. Oops. Yeah. But that's how.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
all I've done.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're slacking.
I know. It's
Just
what time
kidding.
is it?
Just kidding.
2 o'clock.
Is it
2 o'clock.
2.
Yeah.
It's gone fast.
I know. Time flies.
You know what, my dear? I was asking what time it is. I have an appointment uptown, up in Canyon, with a gallery owner at 4:30. Can I quit before 4?
Yeah, of
It
course.
takes us, what, 10 minutes to get up there?
Yeah, it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, that
Oops.
should be fine.
Yeah. I got a piece
Look
of
how much I've done so well.
I know.
I said,
You're good at talking.
my husband says,
Can you imagine?
his
Yeah.
wife, he's reflective. He goes, Bernice, you talk too much.
No.
I said, I will be a demure Indian woman saying this.
Oh, no.
And I tried for about 10 minutes. And I said,
Being demure is overrated.
I know,
talk
right?
too much.
Small doses only.
I wasn't born like that. I just got born. I'm just more talkative.
I was born talking.
Yeah, so it's really fun because we sit there and we're talking about everything. Like we're talking about TV shows and then we talk about what events of the day, things that we want to do, plans.
Books I read. I hoard books. I order books. It's nice that you have. It's nice that you have a person to take a break with.
Yeah, of course.
I know.
So
You've been
Everybody's got to
here.
take a break.
Yeah,
here,
you've been here a while, huh?
It's been about a year, yeah.
About a
Oh.
year now.
Just a little more than a year. My first day was March 31st
Oh yeah.
of last year. So it's been just a year and a bit. A year and a month.
Well, do you think maybe now that the COVID is sort of lifted that it'll be a little bit better in the arts? It's been so slow.
You know, I mean, we, during the time period of COVID, did just fine. And we kept buying from everybody, you probably remember.
Yeah, yeah.
And we even bought at the front door when we wanted to be
Right.
outside.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
the time when we were outside, so we just set up this table out there. And a way
Really?
to do that so that we could continue buying through COVID. We also paid all of our employees throughout the entire time COVID
Yeah.
was there, as if they were working, even though they weren't. So,
Wow.
I mean, we did lots of things to try to help to
Yeah.
the best of our ability, and I think it all really paid off.
I know you
I
guys
think
have
so.
been
It's
very, very instrumental
incredible.
in helping us. Yeah.
Yep.
It's gotten very hard to even sell in the galleries. You know, it's been really tough. And when they sell, they just want the small stuff. But it's kind of getting better for us too.
Well, I think that it was difficult for many reasons.
Oh, yes.
For everybody, and
yes.
everybody's reasons were different. There wasn't any two people's reasons who aligned.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see the galleries that closed up?
Mm-hmm.
Stores?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was different for me because I wasn't here during COVID. I was in Alaska.
Yeah. She had no problem because she was flying out to the little villages in the little airplane and having a great time. And here in New Mexico, it was totally a different thing, you know. But the
I didn't even
arts,
think about that.
About the arts have
during COVID
really
or
suffered,
pottery,
you know.
what
I
it
think
was like.
it's now getting back.
Yeah.
Well, we actually, so about a week before COVID started, a friend of mine came to me and he's like, hey, do you guys need some streaming equipment? And which is exactly what we're using here today.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's order it. Let's get it on order right away. And so we ordered it that day, about a week before COVID started.
Wow.
And knowing that it was coming, we decided to do try to do like a mini Indian market where we did many of these demonstrations, one a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
To kind of put everybody's work out there, because that way it was a way of exposing people and their stuff, but not exposing people to COVID. And it worked really well. But the streaming equipment only showed up the day before we started to air. So, and of course I had to learn how to use it all. And so the first ones are a little rougher than the ones that are towards the end, just practice-wise. And it was fun, you know, walking around barefoot because my shoes would make too much noise, or having the dogs in the background. Or, I mean, it was very real because that's what it was. And we discovered that it being very real was actually kind of the goal in all of it, because we all are doing our best to just try to get through this. And, you know, we can't do it without the artists. Who bring us new things all the time. And the artists can't do it without us, who are here to sell for them all the time. And so we have a very good relationship.
Well, you know, I think it's very reciprocal. You know, you can't do without us, we can't do without you. So I think that's the reason why I don't mind giving up my time, because you guys have been so nice, you know, just great. But you know, the COVID did something very positive for me. I've never done so much art in terms of pottery and paintings. It was like a driven. Every single day I would put out about 5 paintings. And before I knew it, I had like 70. And I'm like, it was just constant. It was a wonderful time for me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's everybody's experiences are all extremely different. You know, some people stayed at home, some people went to work every day, and there's no two that are the same. And it was fun. It's fun to talk to people because everybody's COVID experience is different. Like, for instance, is Santa Clara Pueblo back open to tourists yet?
It is open. They've just recently taken down the checkpoints. So they had these checkpoints there, which were up for about
but you know what?
2-3 years, I think.
I liked it when it was locked up, because it kept people that weren't supposed to be there out, and I felt very safe, because my son's house, you know, we lost our house in a fire, so his house is almost entering to the Pueblo, and I liked the fact that it was kind of safe. You could tell who didn't belong. And I felt really good about it. I mean, by 10:30 one day, we were in Albuquerque, and we missed the in date at the time. You have to be in the gate by.
They had a curfew.
And we were like 5 minutes late. They gave us a hard time. My husband had to go and say, no, these are my kids. And after a while, they get to know you. But at the beginning, it was like touch and go. It was pretty rough, you know. But the COVID did a lot for me, for my arts.
Do you know many people that passed away?
Yes. Yes. You know, a lot of my family members and friends that came in, like 2 days ago, was saying she went to a dance in Santa Clara, and she only could count 3 older people that were above 65 years of age. She said it's a shock. You can't see the older people anymore. There's no one around. And it took a lot of family, friends, and neighbors. It was devastating as anywhere else. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, and I believe that the Pueblos got hit quite hard, all of them, for a lot of different reasons. And one of the main reasons is just a lot of people live underneath the same roof generally. And so there's a whole lot more exposure when there's so many people that are underneath in a small space.
Well, in the United States, there was a humongous number, thousands that we lost. So it was pretty much a very sad time, you know, for all of us. Yeah, it sure was, I tell you. Some horrendous stories that come out of it. Yeah. It was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also some positives that came out of it as well, right? You were able to do your art.
For me, I was totally immersed. I had never done so much art, and I loved it. It was a really good way to keep your mind from anything negative, but every day you turn the TV on, more people passed away, more people in a hospital. It was a hard time for all of us, yeah. Now we feel like we can rest a little bit, but I know that they're still wearing masks. I have mine in my purse constantly, so it's better to be careful. And getting shots, I have to get my 4th booster very soon. Yeah.
Well, I've discovered, I mean, I've done a little bit of traveling, not a lot, since COVID kind of sort of ended.
Yeah.
But what I've discovered is now I put on a mask in the airplane or in the airport, and I don't seem to get my colds or sick anymore like I used to after traveling.
Really?
You're
more protected.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, probably not a lot, but a little bit.
Well,
and so I feel like it helps me, and so I'm more comfortable, and so it makes me more comfortable to travel because I'm slightly less likely to get sick, whether it's mentally me saying that or whether it's physically or real. I have absolutely no idea, but I feel like that it makes a difference, and I think that may be all that matters.
Yeah, I think that I found that out too. It was different for me when I was up there in Alaska, and I wasn't doing pottery and thinking about how just everything, your priorities shifted, and I wasn't focusing on so much just the work shifted, priorities shifted. So it was really nice to be able to work from home and knowing how much I could do and being how productive I could be at home, which was incredible. So that was a good thing. So the bad thing is when I was in Alaska and during the time of COVID, I didn't see my family like a lot of other people. I think it was about 20 months or so, Mom, before I saw you guys. And so that was really hard. So I know that was one thing that was very difficult for me personally. So coming back into...
Were you in New Mexico during the COVID time period? You were here.
I was, yeah.
You were?
I was staying with my mom and my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your mom survived the COVID period.
Everybody's good.
I know.
That's good.
Yeah, my grandson, my daughter-in-law. I think there were 4 or 5 of us that really got it, but my husband and I, we were locked in. We refused to go anywhere. We gave up everything. We did pretty good.
Yeah, we did okay. No, I got it once. I lost my sense of smell. So I couldn't tell if I was stinking, which made me feel kind of invincible. Anyway, no, it was okay. Like for me, I
feel so good.
No,
it was scary.
It was tough.
Was scary for the
it was hard, wasn't it? I lost my sense of smell too when I got COVID, and it was no fun because I lost my sense of taste.
Same. My trick was to eat a lot of spicy pad thai, and eventually it came back.
Yeah.
It came back. Yeah, mine came back after a few days.
And she said she got it. I was terrified to get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's scary. I mean, it was a lot of Zoom. I did a lot of Zooming.
A lot of Zoom. I know, we become Zoom experts.
Yes.
A lot of
I don't miss that so much. That was draining. There was something about like being in a room with people.
Yeah. Different, huh?
It's different. No,
I know.
Mean, like on Zoom, I'm like, in person you feel people's body language. It's like, you're kind of, you don't have to think about it. But on Zoom, I'm like,
Yeah, but you didn't
How are they
end up
doing?
in the hospital though, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
thankfully.
it can get really bad.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I don't know about the arts for people personally. I think sometimes it was a good thing because we used the arts to process what we were going through personally. I know my mom said that she did so much art, which was amazing. That might have started the ball rolling with her just being able to be productive and we stayed home, and so we were able to focus on just what we needed to be doing at the time, and that was good. So I think there was some really beneficial things that came out of it because it really made us think about.
I think like all things, right? It's not one or another. It's complicated, and it cuts both ways at once. You know,
some people that had COVID are still suffering from the after effects.
It's true.
That's
very true.
Devastates me because they said it's over a year now that I ended up in a hospital. I'm still not well. Oh, it's horrifying to think that something like that can get all of us throughout worldwide, you know? It's too much.
Yeah.
It's like the Black Death.
Black Plague.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, it is.
No.
So
it's a
now
once in
in order to survive, we have to get booster shots.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to be like
it's
polio was, you know.
It's kind of humbling, right? Like I think because it's like a once in 100 years kind of event.
Yeah.
It's very easy. I mean, nobody alive really remembers the Spanish flu or whatever. Like it wasn't. So it's sort of an interesting, like I don't know, a circle in time.
Yeah.
That's
interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but it's true.
It's like you can't, I don't know, it made me feel like kind of, I don't know, I was thinking about that, I guess, a lot.
Yeah. I think that it's really neat now that I can be able to spend time with Mom, which is I'm really grateful for.
Yeah.
That it's important for me to sit at her side and also with Dad too, because we do these things as a family, and it brings about the importance of just having them here.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we just, like any other families, like everybody else, we might get on each other's nerves, but basically, when we're doing what we do, just like we are now, we do this at home. We're sitting next to each other, we're talking, we're discussing,
we are
planning.
When she goes.
Yeah,
I told her,
it's really important.
Can you and Kevin move back? And no, Kevin doesn't want to move back.
Oh.
We're not ready yet, but I think it's important, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this and to be able to sit with my mom.
She said, go to Utah and we'll go visit Skinwalker. I said, oh, I don't know if I can take
that's
that.
too scary.
panel.
Gosh darn.
She said, no,
I'm too scared now.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're a tough cookie. I don't want to go.
You should check out that series.
show?
It's pretty
in
cool.
a history.
It's pretty
fascinating.
Cool.
I mean, I love the sort of extraterrestrials. But the
you
one.
can get hooked in that, but it's right near.
But I'm scared. I don't even say that word.
Really? Yeah.
No.
They
You don't
said
want to?
No. I heard it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, some of the natives
I'm trying to be
don't
careful.
even talk about it. It's spooky.
It's super
like-
spooky, yeah.
I had a hard time going to sleep the first night. Kept looking.
Yeah, I watched like one show where they were kind of talking about kind of similar stuff, like
Yeah.
spirits and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for like 2 days. I was too scared.
I know.
You sleep
we
with
were
a
like
nightlight
that,
on.
so-
Don't feel bad. I do that too.
Yeah, it was
I sleep
way-
with a nightlight.
Yeah, it was
Ain't
way too
ashamed.
scary. Yeah, my teddy bear.
Teddy bear. Yeah, I don't have a teddy
Yeah, it
bear,
is
but
a
I do
little
have a
bit
nightlight. Like,
Teddy
no,
bear-
there's
teddy
no
bear-
shame.
Yeah, no.
There's no shame in the teddy bear game.
That's
yeah,
right.
you
There's
need
no
your
shame in the
nightlight.
teddy bear game. True.
You need your nightlight. Yeah.
True.
I
Yeah.
got my Grogu nightlight. Yeah, I ain't
Nice.
afraid.
Yeah.
I ain't
You're
afraid.
of ghosts.
I'm afraid of ghosts. I got a nightlight. Yeah. And
that's
I'm an
right.
adult.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a high functioning adult with a nightlight. I know.
Oh, yeah.
What can I say? Yeah, they're going to
That
be
is
like, oh my
scary.
gosh, she's It's too much. Yeah. Wow. So there it is. Wow. There's a finished beautiful, pot. Dusty. And this is what I was doing was I just took it out of the pookie. This is a pookie base.
So you were filling out the little indentation left by this pookie.
Yeah. Wow. And as you can see, this it's covered by plastic, but this bowl is probably made, I don't know, maybe 500 pieces. I don't know. I couldn't even say if this bowl could talk. It'd be incredible because this is, I think I've used it, Mom has now used it, and so it's, when you find a good pookie, it's awesome. And what you want to look for is one just like this, and the less rim, the better. So you don't want a bowl that has a rim like this, and it's very shallow.
Looks almost like a little soy sauce dish or something.
Like a little soy sauce dish. So we're always looking for pookies.
Yeah.
So we'll go to, Mom and I were saying we need to go to, what was it that we were going to go to? Goodwill?
Savers has a lot of little.
Savers,
yes. Savers has a lot of little good ones.
Yes. So we're always looking for dishes.
Cool.
So we go to Savers or Goodwill or secondhand stores, and we look for dishes just like this that don't have a large rim because we don't want that. So what I was just doing is letting the pot dry enough so you can see where I can pick it up.
Right.
Since I just made this in the 2 hours that we've been here.
Right.
And I smoothed out the bottom rim where there was the base, and I also added clay so that it is completely level. And then I'm just using my hands at this point. I could use the Kemper tool.
Yo-yo.
Here it is. But it kind of does the same things as my finger does.
Right.
So I just use my fingers a lot. And so you've seen me just wetting my fingers, cleaning them off, because of the fact that I use them so much to gauge the thickness of the pot, to form the coils. I have to keep my hands clean. So they're like another set of eyes. So that's how I do the pieces. And this is one of my favorite size and shapes. I started doing these necks, and I'll do more elongated necks sometimes. This one has one.
Yeah.
It's a little bit longer and with an open mouth.
Yeah.
This one has like a little rim on it, as you can see.
I love the sort of flared neck.
Yeah. So you can do all kinds of things. So
that's beautiful.
So thank you. So I can do that too. Do the little. The little flares are fluted, kind of like a pie crust. So Mom, I watch Mom make pies. I don't make pies, but Mom, when she was making pies, she would tell me, this is how you do the fluted edge of the pie crust. And so that's how I started doing that, like this.
I have a really terrible joke.
Oh, you
about pies.
About pies?
You know what's not easy as pie?
What?
Making a freaking pie. If you're
That's right. Mom's really good at it, so I can't say that. Mom doesn't get that joke because she's really good at it. I do not.
I'm not a very. I'm a little too improvisational to be a baker.
Yeah. Oh, can't.
You can't do that at all.
No, can't do that at all. But I did learn that
I'm better at soup.
Yeah. Oh, no soup. I don't make soup either. I order soup. That one step I learned from Mom and her baking skills. So she used to do this, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. Look at Mom, what she can do with the fluted edge of a pie crust. So Mom would make her own pie crust, and so I would watch her do this with her pie crust, and that's how I started to do this very basic kind of fluted edge.
Beautiful.
But I do need a little bit more clay to it. I just wanted to show how I did that and where that came from. It's just
I'm
from
very
Mom.
domesticated. I'm constantly making bread, pies, homemade foods.
Mom is the best.
And the young kids like the junk food.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do a lot of cooking now. I made back ribs, baby back ribs last night.
Bread, pies.
Do you make oven bread or other kinds?
Yes.
I know.
I have a big loaf of oven bread at home I'm working through.
Yeah.
Right now.
best oven bread and fry bread, sopapillas.
Are you having a good day?
Oh yeah, I actually have a bucket of sopas at home.
My car's getting worked on, so I came down here.
Oh.
So it's on extra time because that's the car. So.
So you have to do walking.
So I'm walking.
You're walking around.
I think it's nice because the stores are so close to each other, you know. Yeah, grab an ice cream cone and just walk around. It's nice. The plaza's a good place to amble.
Yeah, I like to look at all the.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but these are beautiful. Yeah, so these are hand.
Yeah. Well, my daughter does just forming a piece, and she's doing very well with it. And I'm designing after they're fired. I'm very, I'm slacking off. I'm doing too much talking. Here at home, I'd be really meditating. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone.
I know.
And my kids come in, and my oldest son, he wakes up because, you know, he's a student trying to get through his master's. And the first thing is he'll say, I'm hungry. I said, oh, really? I'm glad to meet you. I'm your mom. But anyway, yeah, in between cooking, I do pottery, I paint. So today we're using this day to do demonstrations. So I said, I'll go ahead and design and finish the piece. And this one has been fired, polished with a stone or slip that's before you polish, you put this on. And, you know, she's makes her clay. She did her clay herself.
Do you get that? You get it locally. You collect it locally from
We
different
do,
places,
yes, right on the Pueblo in Santa Clara. Yes, we make our own clay, and we hand build the pieces, and they're wood fired. Very traditional processing.
So it's hard. You have to get really hot. I mean, wood.
Well,
the wood one is
We get the wood like it's that many steps. You know, that's just the basic stuff. The basic stuff, but everything else is, of course, a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
So you're carving in a design on it?
Yeah, I'm doing my freeform carving high, and I use an X-Acto knife. They told me, don't you ever poke yourself. I said, if I'm careless, but you get used to it, just like using a butcher's knife, you know. But I'm carving. I'm trying to finish the back, but I talk too much, and I never do that at home. I'm sitting there very quietly.
Yeah, because it's really fine.
Yeah, but it gives me time to socialize. I'm very introverted today. Or last week.
I know, right? I know.
There's my pot. It looks very nice.
Oh,
don't show the bad
so
part.
beautiful. That's really nice, Mom.
Oh, that's the bad part. Censor that part.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm supposed to be putting this little guy over on top.
Oh, yeah. Is that the water one?
Avenue.
That's the avenue.
That's the Indian word for. It's a mythological creature that's supposed to take care of the waterways of the world. And it's a very nice thing for young people to learn. Even when we're babies, we said, don't wash your feet in the water, that's drinking water. Don't throw rocks, trash. It's a good way to teach the natural environment how to take care of our liveways, you know.
How do you spell it?
A-V-A-N-Y-U. Avenue.
Oh, Avenue. Oh,
Yeah. And I bet if you scroll it on your IG, Instagram, it'll pop up.
Okay.
Yeah, do it. It'll come up.
Google it, I think. It might.
Yeah. It's yes.
Water stuff.
But I love it. It seems to lend itself really nice. Some of this is our work, and I have a big piece right there with the avenue, the top one. The larger one, the largest. That's one of my work.
Oh, it goes all the way around then.
Yeah, my daughter's Dusty, and I'm Bernice.
Hi.
Pieces hand built?
All the pieces are hand built.
She has coil in one.
Yes. This is these are all built on a puki base. So I've made this one in the past 2 hours. This is the puki base that we start with for the larger pieces. So what I was doing is that in 2 hours, I was able to take the piece out and work on the bottom.
She's serious today.
So I was just straightening out that. You can see there's a little edge.
Oh, take a nap at 11.
I know. I would be taking a nap by now and gone to Starbucks.
I said no.
I'm trying to be really professional.
No, you got to work.
So this is not usual. So I'm able to take it out of the puki, and
let me see your puki.
That's what it looks like.
That's a PU. Where's my That young lady.
P-U-K-I.
Yeah, this is a puki, P-U-K-I. And it's a base to hold your pot, but you can go too far and it's disastrous. So you have to like stay within, the magnetic force from UFO term that I learned.
Yeah, gravitational force.
I watch UFOs and put them in my paintings or in your pottery, but anyway.
Yeah. So
anyway, we've been talking a lot about crazy stuff.
This is basically, you can make a elongated shape. You can make
a high
very big pot.
So cookies are one size always?
Yeah. Well, they're different sizes. You can use, these are actually found bowls from Goodwill, from Walmart, anywhere. What I was telling him is that I look for a pookie that doesn't have a very big rim on it.
Let me see.
So,
okay. I really like this one because it's a little bit broad base. You can bring out the piece, but you get like a round form. When I buy pookies, I'm looking at the bottom because I like my pookies kind of narrow, but kind of wide, because then you start out. See, this one has a pookie that was rounded. And if you look at a form like the one in back of that lady with the orange blouse, somebody used a base very narrow, and that's gorgeous. That's a nice shape. You can bring it out a little further, but you can, if you use a pookie, you have to I look at the bottom sides. Then it tells me what kind of form I'm going to have in the bottom.
And it used to be that they were often baskets, right? So it was
yeah,
like a little basket to
I
start.
think you have to use a pookie or a base, because there's no way you can, unless you spend days and days on something that large. You got to have a base, because this is pretty much free form. I make a little ball, and I start forming the ball, and my daughter did a small one, but I can do a large piece by just turning my hands around. Wow. Yeah, oh yeah, I can do. This one was pretty much free. No, the one on top was free form. That one was free form with the oven, and all I did was make sure that it was stable enough to hold, because it's wide, and so I kind of tamp it on a table to get it flat, or sometimes I roll out my clay like a pie dough, and I cut it up with a knife, and I can do the slab method and reinforce it. There's many ways to do the same thing, but it's fun. And the pyramid form was made by slab, by laying out the coil and adhesive inside. You put little tiny pieces of clay to fasten it, so it's very stabilized. But the ones that go out are very hard to polish. And right here I have polishing stones with the slip that we use, and it's now liquid form from the rock form, and that's what we put on the pot to get this part in order for us to polish with a stone. So we do it the hard way. So
sounds like it.
Are hummingbirds special in any way? Significant? I notice you have one.
Oh, what was the, yeah.
Is it significant just because you like them, or do they have significance?
I do, and my bears are really unusual. I go through metamorphosis of bears. Those are my newest style, but right now they're very contemporary. They're very beautiful. But the kind of clay that we use, this clay is not very good. About the most hardest part of that bear was when you curve the clay, it breaks in the middle. So when there's breakage, then you're in trouble. So that one, I think I really like holes in a pot. I don't know why. I just like holes. And I'm always putting holes through my pots. I made a wedding jar that have holes, and they said, how come? I said, I don't know. You're supposed to put water, but I like the fact that you might have water coming out. And it's kind of fun. I get crazy. But anyway, my bears are very sensitive to the curving part.
They're more decorative. The Santa Clara clay is more decorative. Ours are just become so refined that they no longer, dried flowers, you can do that. And a lot of our designs come from just things you can see, of course, in nature. We like animals, things that we like. Hummingbirds are one of our more popular designs, of horses.
Anybody done pottery here?
Buffaloes.
I tried on the wheel.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had clay all over the
right?
walls.
Yeah.
So miserable.
I've done hand building.
Yeah, my teacher said, go free form. That got me going.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you get pretty good at it, really. Do it every day.
When you do the etching, do you use like
Exactonite.
do you overlay that, or do you just do
No,
it from
I
sight?
just, a lot of people say, my God, it must be scary. It's really not for me because I got to start somewhere. If I'm scared, I can't get anything done. So I basically have an idea of what I might want. And sometimes I love to do dragons, or I'll have them come out of my pot like I do with the avenue. Sometimes I'll have the tail coming out of the pot, which to me is a lot of kinetic movement. I really have fun with my pottery.
Do this so everyone can
Yeah.
see. Okay?
Oh, so everyone can see.
Don't break
I'll move it over here. So you
You
can
paid
see.
for it. Don't break it. I'm not. Anyway,
the carving done?
I have a signature way up here, but I really, really have fun with the avenue because it's mythological. Nobody has ever seen him. It's like Trump and no, don't talk about Trump. Okay. Well, anyway, he's mythological, so I can make him however way I want, and he lends himself very nicely because sometimes I have the tail coming out of the pot around the rim. On this one, I kind of drew what I might like, and these are actually very old design, the Masa design. It kind of, if you see Catholic churches, you see that step design, but we call it masa. And you can have it on a headgear when they're dancing. So a lot of these symbols are very old. The avenue goes way back. And it teaches us young children to care for your water. Don't ever wash, don't throw sticks, trash in there. It's a really good way to learn your culture and the language that goes with it. And so this guy is going to be changing differently, but he's going to be up here. And I start from the mouth anywhere, and I draw him around. And sometime, you can change the concept. So by the time he's done, he's probably going to look something like that. But I have a lot of fun because I have an art degree, and I used to do a lot of pen and ink. So I used a lot of those techniques, as you can see on maybe, the very nice little lines. So it's kind of nice. You can go any which way you want, but my family, my grandson is a wonderful potter, extremely well. He can draw perfect, realistic. And sometimes my bears look like Winnie the Pooh, And it's really funny. We laugh at our designs, but she's really good with horses. And this one has a beautiful example of a horse. And I cannot do horses, so I stay away from that. But anyway.
Do you
Yeah.
only do the etching after you've polished it? Or
You can also do it before, but when you fire, you're going to lose the essence of the design. And this is what we call an Italian word, it's graffito, which means etch out or draw out. So with me, I'm drawing the bottom because I do more talking, so I haven't gotten too far. And so, the whole thing when I'm at home, it's absolutely meditative. Yeah. I don't have this crazy stuff out here. And I'm like, don't talk to me. I don't eat. I don't answer the phone. When you're polishing, it's all sincere. You don't mess around.
Yeah.
You just anyway.
How long does that take?
Definitely, I was going to say, to do something like this.
Oh, it's okay. From the time that I started, it's about an 18-step process. And I put this because it shows you folks that don't do pottery that traditional is not a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work from the time you dig out the clay. We do everything. We process the clay. This is the raw form. We sand it. Oh my goodness, it's an 18-step process. And the last step has dollar signs, and that's what we do. That's the fun part where you can sell. Yeah. So I'm not young anymore, and she's got a lot of long years. I started in 81. So this is my 40th year at Indian Market. And so I decided I would do painting, so I just sold a painting yesterday at a museum in Albuquerque. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm happy. So I'm starting out in a new trend because when I go to old age home, I ain't going to sit there doing play cards. I'm going to paint. So I said, well, you got to plan for your old age, Pretty soon I won't be able to do wonderful pottery. And I'm going to do it until I can't anymore, you know.
How do you, if you already have fired it, how do you get the variation in color?
The colors?
Well, when you carve, this is different colors.
Yeah, and it's really magical. Let me tell you why. This one has a very uniform firing, but I have done firing where I yank it out when there's still a little bit light brown or dark brown, and I've come up with 4 different strata of clay, and it's only 2. This clay and the polish, that's all there is. But the firing can be very magical, and it depends on the person. You know, if you don't like the red designs on it, you pull it out. Or you can get the pure black with manure, using dry manure.
So was this fired in different colors?
No, it's only fired one time.
Right, so then it's the etching.
And okay, the really light beige is actually the bottom of the clay itself. And then the light brown, all I do is take my knife and I scrape it out very carefully. Yeah, very carefully. Yeah, and then of course this is the polish, this is the original. So I can get as many as 5 different variations depending on the firing. But it's really delightful. It's very meditative.
Yeah.
And you can be very contemporary. And, you know, some of the symbols are very important. And so you try to stay. I'm from Taos, by the fact, and their dad is Santa Clara. So they're half and half. So I got bored with what the first clay I was doing, but it's totally waterproof. Like the beige, shiny pieces with the mica that you see back there, that's our indigenous clay from the Pueblo of Taos. So my husband's from Santa Clara, and I'm pretty much self-taught. And I started this process I started pottery in 81, and in about 1989, I wanted to learn how to do their clay. So I got a book on Santa Clara, and that's how I learned. Wow. It's been trial and error for about 10 years. But now I can do my own polishing and pretty much do whatever I feel I can do. I can add stones or jewelry, you know, but I want to go traditional because it's changing now, and the colors are being used. I want my kids to stay with the traditional form because it is going to disappear. So she said in college, "I'm so broke, Mom." I said, "Good, now you can do pottery. Here's the clay." And she's gotten to the point that she now did the fluted edge, and that's really difficult to polish using stones. Anytime that you have any kind of fancy carving, it's really difficult. So whenever you see a beautiful pot, remember that, you know, the artist has spent hours polishing the little ridge, and that's harder than the simple fact of bringing the pot up. But it took me about 3 hours to polish this. You can't go to the bathroom, you can't answer your
the phone.
No eating, you gotta polish, or else you gotta sand it because it'll dry, and then you have to sand it off and redo the slip and redo the process. It's a lot of hard work, but it takes dedication, just like any other artwork or hobby. You know, the same.
I have a question for you about that. Do the animals that you put on your pottery have some symbolism for you? So can you tell us what, like, the horse means, what the hummingbird means?
Oh, you mean the symbolism itself, or just the process? The process? You're asking about the process?
More the symbolism of the animal.
If it has meaning for you.
Oh, yes, it does. Like a lot of, you know, I think this one, they call it the masa design, but it's inverted. I have it upside down, but if it's right side up, you can see the symbolism in all the churches, you know, and it goes way back. I have my own water design, and I call this my water design, the bottom here. And so all of this have a different form, like the lightning has a lot to do with Native American lore of culture, of studying the natural world as we see it. So a lot of it is symbolic, and to every artist or a group of people, it has a different meaning. You know, yeah, you can do your own cloud design, but a lot of it goes way back.
So that water design,
the symbols.
that water design that you were showing us, That looks like an inverted cloud form.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes, I'll be working upside down, so I do my work upside down, or the triangles are, it just depends on where I'm at.
Yeah. And the hummingbird, what does the hummingbird symbolize for you, Mom? Does it have a meaning? Does it have a meaning to you, Mom? Or the hummingbird? Does the hummingbird have a symbol for you? The hummingbird.
Oh,
Tell
yeah,
them about
well-
your hummingbird design.
Well, I think I just had one, the hummingbird, but he's my favorite. And the hummingbird is really part of our environment, so I do a lot of him, and I do my flowers. And the only tool I use is my X-Acto knife, like I said. So I think my previous work of pen and ink really has come into play, and it kind of transcends into your other work anyway, So I try different things, as all artists do. And I've enjoyed my 40-odd years doing pottery, and I'm getting better, actually.
Do you have hummingbirds?
I love hummingbirds, yeah. I know. I miss my hummingbirds, but I do a lot of them. And my flowers, I do all kinds. I like elk. I love to draw sheep. So now that I'm painting, I'm doing some watercolors with sheep, which I love. Yeah. And where are you folks coming from?
New Mexico.
Oh, really?
Llanito.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah.
Can I touch the...
I don't think so, because I think it's already sold, so the owner has to come
Oh,
back
you want
and
to touch the
put
clay? Sure. Go ahead, touch the clay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She does ceramics.
Oh, you do ceramics.
Tell him to put that one back.
I don't know if you're videotaping. Oh, are you I want to see your side. Sorry.
Oh, that's good. That's fine. No, that's all good.
Someone made this.
Yeah, I don't want it to fall.
Oh, it was this morning. Make a little pinch pot. This is mine, yes. This is what?
No, it's, I'm from Taos, so,
Isn't that amazing?
So it's
So
just
imagine
a shape.
this
It
is a
doesn't
very
represent
traditional
any group.
process.
It's
You can
just
go
a
out
style that I
and
like.
gather your own clay.
Yeah.
All you need to do,
It's really wonderul, but it's a
Soak it,
lot of
yes.
work if you remember.
when
we have to
it
use
is
stones.
in this strata,
It's
it
not a glaze
looks
or
very
anything,
ornate,
so
like the
this is the
consistency
slip
of
that
a
you
Hershey's
put on
chocolate bar.
a number of
Yes,
times.
and it's
yeah.
very pure.
Yeah.
Of course, what we do is we put water
Yeah, I have to put
and
about
take
3 or
out
4
the
coats. You can
the
put too
additives
much
and
and it'll
everything.
like form
And
little lines.
what we do is
So
we
you gotta
add
put just
when
enough, and you
it's
kind of
pure,
learn to
you add
regulate
volcanic
how
ash
much
to
you
it,
put.
and you
Yeah.
get the consistency that
And
it
then you
is
start
now.
polishing right away.
This is the slip.
Yes. And you have to get it. We get it near Albuquerque,
Well,
near Bernalillo.
what's going to happen
There's
is that I'm going
specific
to leave
places
this pot
that you
alone
can
for
get
about
it.
4 days and let it dry. Let it
There's
air
a
dry.
specific
And this
place
is
that
what it'll
people
look
go
like.
all the
And you can
time,
see
and
it's very raw.
everybody
You
has
can even
their
see
own,
my
like,
finger
sometimes
marks.
you get
can
people
see,
that have gray-
yeah, you can see what it feels
gray
like.
colors or black. Black comes
Few
from
days,
spinach.
about 4 or 5
and
days.
Everybody
Not
has
in the
their
direct
own
sun,
secret where
but
they
what
get
I'm
their
doing
stuff.
is I'm watching it to make sure that there's no cracks that
No,
are building
the
up.
the Taos
how
is
the
that
pot is
buff-colored
drying
pottery.
evenly. Of course, I'm turning
They don't
it.
put any slip
Each
on it,
day
so
I'm
natural
turning
clay
it so
is
that
out.
it dries evenly. I'm making sure there's no cracks.
No, this is not a glaze. It's a slip.
I start in the pookie. And then when it gets to be about a day
This is
out,
from
I
Santa
can take
Clara.
this out and it'll
This is
be
from Santa
at this
Clara, yeah.
part where I
But
can
the
just leave it
slip
out on
you
its
can
own.
get
And I can
different
put it on the
places.
side. I can put it
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
without the pookie.
Well,
so it
we
can
get
dry
ours below
slowly.
Bernalillo,
Not
where
too
there's
fast.
a little place, and everybody has their own place where they go their own day. So nobody actually digs
amazing.
the same place. You kind of get to know where this is, so you have to kind of look
do
for
all
it.
of it. We
And
gather
it
our own
only
clay.
lays in a
We do
thin
everything
strata.
from
it lays in a
beginning
thin
to
strata.
end. I am from Santa Clara.
And
My
that's the
mom,
volcanic
I
ash
am
that we use.
half Santa Clara and half Taos.
Yeah.
My mother is from Taos Pueblo.
It's kind of
So
Thank you very much.
Oh,
this is what it looks like when it's
Oh,
dry.
you
So what's
did?
going to happen
When?
next
When did
is
you-
that I'm going to put it here like it's drying, and then
You
I'm
mean
going to
today?
sand it with
What did you
sandpaper,
get?
very fine. Then
Oh, you
I'm
got
going to
that?
put the
Oh,
natural
you're
slip
so
on it.
sweet.
We get
Where
that
is
slip
it
from
going
La
to?
Bajada Hill on the way into Albuquerque.
Oh.
Before you go down
Oh my
into
goodness. Oh.
San Domingo, you will get the slip, and then you will put 3 or 4 layers.
Oh, really?
Yes, your burnish.
Well,
Yeah.
did you
3 or
show
4
them the
slips,
one you
burnish,
just
burnish,
purchased?
burnish, and then you get a little
is
bit
that
of
the
lard,
one?
Morel works
Oh,
great.
yeah, well.
And then you put a little bit. And then
Yeah,
you do
well,
this.
oh, my
And then you're going to
baby's
get a high sheen.
Oh,
That's
my
the part
baby's
where my
going
mom was
somewhere.
saying,
I did this
you
with a
do it
pen and
undisturbed when it's not too hot because you'll get
Oh,
polishing marks. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to
Dusty,
do.
they purchased this
Oh, that's
one.
beautiful.
Oh, you're so sweet.
It's beautiful.
Oh, and I love that. And remember
So,
that this is my signature.
What you'll do is put
And my
layers,
Indian
layers,
name
layers
means
of
striped
slip,
rock.
and
And
then
I
you will
had to
burnish
find something
with the
that was
stone.
easy, and nobody
then,
can use it.
put
They
little
put
bit
in
of
a
lard on it and just
database
keep
at
doing
the
that.
Indian market. And
marks,
if
no
it's
marks,
not,
right.
if you don't have that,
No.
it's
So
a
it'll look
forgery
like
of my
this.
work.
It's got
But
the high
if we have to go
sheen. So
through
anytime
the,
you see, you
write
walk
a
around
paper
here
that it's
and you're going
only
to see the
for my
pots with the
use.
high sheen.
But when
like
I
I'm
did
looking at
pen and
these
ink, this is a
exquisite
takeoff
black
from there.
Santa Clara.
The pen and ink, because it,
That's amazing. That's
yeah, and then
did
I
not.
use
I
a different,
learned
like
when
a
I was
different
in,
line to do all
graduate
of that. And
And I
so
was
this,
about
you have
maybe
little
when I was
tiny
graduate
lines
school age,
on
about
that one.
20, something
Yeah.
like that. And I started when I was
Oh my goodness.
about that age.
There you
no,
go.
no, you're fine. No, you're fine. Have fun with it. So I started when I was about 20. Mom is self-taught.
Oh, that's great.
And so
And
I've
I
been
love
doing
the
it
birds,
since
but
then.
I do
But
so
of course
many
I got
of
my
them. It's
master's
like,
degree.
you know. But this too, yeah. And then
I
of
work
course
as
I
a
do my
behavioral health
bears too.
clinician.
I do sculpture
with a
forms,
background
but
in
I
art
never
therapy.
hardly.
So
I
I
started
did that
doing
for
painting. I just saw one yesterday.
time for a little bit of time, but all the way through I kind
Thank
of
you
always
so
came
much.
back and forth.
Oh,
into
to take
pottery.
care of it, oh, you use
So,
a soft duster.
About 4
Don't
years
use
ago,
anything wet.
I moved to Alaska
And
I
keep it
did,
away from high moisture,
behavioral
like a
health
bathroom
counseling out in
or
Alaska,
outdoor
which I
porch. You should have it for a
absolutely
long, long time. Thank you.
Restrooms,
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah.
That's great. That's nice.
So I did that, and so when I came
That's
back
amazing.
to, I
That's
moved from
great.
Alaska to Utah, and so I came back to pottery. So I've always been doing
I haven't
this
done too much on my
a little bit at a time.
but it
Yeah.
takes time. That's why. Yeah.
The heritage and the legacy of like the styles and the technique, like should you like that? Does that feel
I do.
burdensome, freeing? Does it make you feel connected? Do you feel like
It does. It does. No, it does in some ways because it feels, there's limitations but put on only by not ourselves, but just the constrictions of what is perceived as Pueblo
Is it
pottery,
pretty warm out there?
What it's supposed to look like.
It's a
But
really
the
how
great
nice
thing
isn't it?
about
I think it was
this
supposed to
new,
be like
this very
75,
traditional
which
old
is
form
nice.
of art is that it's becoming
It doesn't
very
feel,
new and contemporary.
Yeah, it
And
looks
you can
like
do
it's a
that,
little bit off.
because you can
like,
do that with the
we've been
shape
getting a lot of wind.
and the style.
Very windy.
Like you see
Where
the
are you folks
pyramid
coming from?
piece that I did is so
Oh,
different.
nice.
Yeah, it's so different.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a raven and it has buffaloes
from
on
Utah?
it. So I've only done maybe 3
Okay,
pyramids.
Las
but
that's
it's
where
just-
my baby
it's-
girl lives.
That's how you
yeah.
show your independence.
She's
or you're, like,
supposed to be
shifting
coming
different
up, but
values.
Grandpa wasn't
because I want to
feeling well.
do
We
like
said,
different
no, he's got a
shapes
cold,
and
so
double
don't come
low
up,
pieces. Yeah.
But I imagine
Yes.
it's like
And
86
you
down
see that
there.
a lot with the younger generation.
Oh my
of
gosh, she's
artists
getting
in
used to it, but
the
she's
Pueblos.
not too
And it's
happy
a
with the
very
heat.
traditional art form.
But
As
it's
you
a
can
nice
see,
town. Yeah, we passed by there in March on our way to Arizona Art Show. Yeah, it's the first time ever. I like that strange mountain. What is it called? Yeah. Oh yes, I know. It was beautiful that day. There was like an overcast cloud, and the sun came out. Beautiful mountain. Yeah. I got my master's degree in 81 that summer.
Isn't it
I wanted
awesome?
to do something in terms of art because I got an art degree. Then I went in for my master's for administration. So when I got my master's, I got a job at a local school 2 weeks after I got my master's. So I needed to do
Mermaids are
something to
awesome.
relax.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did everything in art. And
And I was working on an octopus the other day, and we're like talking about putting,
I stayed
like,
with
Mom
it.
and I like to watch.
But I'm still doing
watercolors,
pen and ink. I'm what you call an artist. I do a little bit of everything.
So we're like, I want to put a UFO, and I have this dream of, I just saw one painting yesterday. I want to do one that's like an egg shape, and I like to draw dinosaurs. So I'm going to put dinosaurs on it. And then maybe a UFO on it, and I'm like picturing it in my head. It's all in my head.
A lot of trial and error. But I also do the Taos micaceous also.
It's going to be on the outside, kind of like that.
So
and it's going to be like, if you can imagine an egg shape about this big.
But
and
micaceous,
maybe
unless
if
it's
you go to
very
Indian market,
specialized form, it's harder to sell.
We're going to be here.
Yeah, I just sold that piece a while ago.
No, you don't need to get
I just bought it down for Derek 2 hours ago.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I know. Yeah. But I was going to tell you, if you come,
so now
then
I'm
maybe
getting
you
ready
might
for a
see,
show
then you tell me, did you do your
on a week and a half from now
because
here.
I wanted about
and
this big, like
we
an
have
egg.
a big show worldwide known for Indian markets, so my daughter and I both got in. So she has a booth that I have a booth. So I'm going to do my paintings and pottery for the first time ever. Yeah,
So I don't
I'm
want to put it
happy.
out too early,
Yeah.
but I'm just going to tell you guys what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And then,
I'm doing
so
my
I want to
fifth
do the
dimension
egg and then like
designs. I do a lot of crazy reading. I'm really into UFOs. I'm really heavy on science. So I do a lot of time and space reading, and I just had this fantastic
my mom,
dream.
she's
I saw two
Bernice.
figures in my dream.
You
they
see,
were very
when you look
tall.
at her,
they had beautiful blankets.
she lives in,
I couldn't see their
actually,
face, but they had
they live
long
with,
hair.
in Santa
I woke
Clara.
up and I immediately drew them on my pad.
Yeah.
2
So it's
days
not too
later,
far,
I
but
bought
if you look
acrylics
under,
and they came out
she's going to do
incredible.
Native
But
Treasures.
I put
Native Treasures
2 dots
is
of black
in
on my
about,
paper. It was
the end
a
of
large
this
paper.
month,
And then I
for
used the
Memorial Day
3 colors I
weekend,
saw
at the
in my
convention center,
dream.
they
I
have
placed
Native
them
Treasures,
here
which is
and
a
there.
small.
I got a
right
heavy
down that
steel
way, and
ruler,
right down
and
a
I
couple
pressed it
blocks
all the
is the
way
convention
down,
center
and the
in Santa
black
Fe.
became the
And
hair.
they have the
It
Native
was
Treasure show, and she's going to
amazing.
do that one.
Yeah,
No,
so
I'm not
I
gonna be
started
there. I have to go
doing,
back
I
to your
did
place.
75 in a week
I
and a
have
half.
me, but I don't have
75.
everything I make is out to the
It
galleries.
was strange, but
Since I live in
I
Utah.
did very well
Yeah,
at the
I live in
Arizona
Utah.
show
So,
in March.
I'm
That
going to
was
come
the
back
first time
for
I didn't think they would
Indian
be
market.
accepted in a judging, but they
I'm gonna
were.
do a big piece.
And over here too, so I'm excited. I know I'm really excited.
Well, no, you don't need tickets, but it is.
I do.
100,000 people.
It's
I know.
great, but it's great talking with you. I enjoy it. That's why I haven't done much. Okay, maybe I'll sell this week.
Yes, you'll have to come up. Mine is Dusty Naranjo.
Tricode. Smart.
You're so cute. We'll see you later. Did you go to the restroom? Did you get to go to the restroom? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. There's a Starbucks like.
Yeah, that's what
No, you want to keep it? Keep it. Yeah. What is your name?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. Oh, that's a beautiful name.
When I got something I'm working on at home, and then I can put it in with the clay I have. Did you see this?
Yes.
Yeah, the slippery.
Yes.
She gets it by Bernalillo, but secretly.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't ask people where they're digging their clay from. Who's your dealer?
Who's your pot dealer?
Exactly.
Where do you get your pot from?
That's a little easier to ask.
That's a loaded question. Who's your pot dealer? Yeah.
Just see, this is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for stopping by. Yeah. Do you do the hand?
I do hand building.
Hand building.
And mostly it's functional.
Show her that.
I would love to see it.
But I am, and I'm doing more bigger pieces, so that's really fun.
Does like little.
One day, yeah, maybe one day I'll get to dig. You know, let's see. I guess here's me. Oops. Here are some of the things I've been working on. Just so sometimes, like, painting. I made a set for my sister-in-law of just weird animals.
Oh, I love
But
those.
then,
Are those plates?
What?
You know, the thing that goes in.
So these are just.
Is that you on Instagram?
Yeah,
Put it under
Lyon Pottery.
Lyon Pottery. Okay, I'll look for you. That is gorgeous.
Look at this. This comes out, and then there's an egg in there.
It's the whole, you know.
Oh, that is so cool.
It's so cool.
It looks like those little dolls with
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
all in there.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is just.
Did you make those plates too?
Yeah.
Oh, those are so
These
neat.
are fun because that's what I want to do is I want to do a special one for myself with the clay.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it's just organic. Anyway.
Oh, beautiful.
Anyway, thank
love
you
it.
for-
Yes. Love it.
Thank
Don't you
you.
just love working in
Well,
clay?
you know, when you talked about the art therapy and your own like craft, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely, especially the last couple of years too.
Yeah.
And you know, I had actually always wondered about the
Scraps.
well, yeah,
The
like where
sgraffito.
that showed up.
Yeah.
What's
In the
it again?
process.
Sgraffito.
Sgraffito. SGRAFFITO. Yeah. And so it's really neat because of the fact that you can do it after and you can try it. We do very basic, I don't want to say basic, but we wood fire.
Yeah.
And we raku fire. So our pieces, you get the variation of clay because we don't have control over the firing, but you get pieces where you can do just a little light scraping and then you'll get a reddish tone.
Yeah.
And then she's doing a darker cut, a deeper cut where you can get the white. And then you can get a matte finish. So
Did you make
it's
this
just,
today?
yes, I did. I made it today. And it's just a very basic, I was going to do the same thing with this one, is how they asked me, how did you start to do pottery? And this is how Mom taught us. Of course, when we start like this. Yes. Yes. And so it's just very basic building of a shape, a base. And so you can start the little ones like this and then just kind of do this. And so you do these while you're watching TV.
And when you're ready to say you're finished, you put it into the raku or the.
Well, I'll leave, let's say for instance, for this one, I'll just put it on the shelf. I was telling your daughter, let it dry. Let it dry, and it's going to look like this.
Yeah.
And then I'll tend to it to make sure that it doesn't start to crack.
Yeah.
Because that'll be the first indication that something might be different with the clay. So I have to make sure they're not cracking, and this one's looking pretty good. And then I think this one will be ready to sand. So I take them outside and sand them with 60 grit, paper, and then 120, the finer. And then by hand, just sandpaper.
Sandpaper.
And that's how we get the refinement of the shape.
Yes, beautiful.
So my mom loves that part. I don't like sanding too much. She's really good at it. I don't like to do that. So she's really good at that. Yeah, so smooth. Yeah, so smooth. Yeah, I'm like, Mom, I don't want to. I need to go to Starbucks, or I need to take a nap. And Mom's like, I'm going to go sand. I'm like, no, I don't want to. Yes, she's very good at that. And then you polish. So you're going to polish after it's sanded.
It's so smooth.
And then it'll be like that. Yeah.
See, now I'm drawing the avenue.
See what she did in the minutes.
Now I'm drawing it and I'm taking it all around the pot. And these are the masa designs. And it's not exactly like that.
That's the avenue.
That's a water serpent. It's called the water serpent. It's an avenue. And we believe he's a mythological creature that goes way back for time immemorial. Yeah, and he takes care of the waterways.
I will do that.
Yeah,
I'll do that today. And then you'll see me. And then I'll say hi, Gabriella. And then I'll be like, hi, this is Dusty that you met today.
Yes, I'll remember.
And Mom's on Instagram too. Under Bernice Naranjo. Is that what you're under? Instagram? You're on Instagram. Mom loves Instagram. She's on Instagram too.
I love it.
For pottery, or you just
She does pottery. Both.
But you know,
Yeah, you know, we can get distracted by Instagram, but she loves it.
Do you do pottery too?
Yes.
Oh, I might have seen your work. Your name is so familiar. I know. I'm going to put this right here and I'm going to look at
So we're going to follow you.
That's great.
Yeah. And Mom posts her work. Oh, you're so welcome, Gabriella.
Where are you from?
Now Chicago.
Oh my gosh.
Chicago.
And do you,
Originally.
do you use a wheel?
No, I hand built.
Oh, nice. How interesting that you should be here when we're here and you're on Instagram too.
I know, right?
I know.
Next to me.
I came to visit my mom, but I love it here. This is
Well,
where-
it's so nice to meet you. Oh, it's so nice.
She's born
now
here
I
in
can
New
hardly
Mexico.
wait. So are you easy to find on Instagram?
Easy.
Okay,
We'll
great.
find you.
Okay, yeah.
We'll find you.
Oh, that's so nice.
You are so welcome.
you're the
It's so
mama?
nice to meet you.
It's
Oh,
nice to meet you.
yeah. Now I've
Mom,
been so
what's
busy
Mom's
talking
name?
that's all I got.
Yeah,
in
these
2
are the-
hours. So
that's the
now I'm
one.
doing the water serpent on it. I kind of
little
like
pinch
to see
pots.
what I'm going to put on it. Yeah.
I know, right? No.
So I can remember your name.
Oh, how nice. Yeah. It's nice
Bye.
to meet you. Enjoy your trip. Yeah, that's a nice.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.
So how are you doing on your piece, Mom? That looks really
I got
cool.
the water serpent on there.
That looks good.
Oh, there we go.
I got up close so we can see the
Yeah.
I'm doing
Keep
it.
working.
There we go.
I think I have enough clay left over so I can make a little pinch pot.
There we go, Dusty. See,
So I'm going to make it
there we
squat.
go.
Yeah, you can see it good.
Ooh, cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, no, watching you work up close is really great. It's great to see your hands moving and
I know. Whoa, look at me.
The time goes. What time? It must be 3 something now.
yeah, it is 3 o'clock exactly.
Oh, I have a great. That's
You've
my
got a
man.
great
I
internal
wake up
clock.
3 in the morning every day.
Oh my goodness.
That's supposed to be the witching hour.
Yeah, that's right, 3 to 4.
Maybe my soul has just come in.
That's when you get all
You're
the
watching too much that show.
skinwalker. That's when the portals are open at 3
I
in
say
the
that to
morning.
the kids and they tell me,
You gotta be careful with those portals, Bernice.
Mom, where have you
Portals
been?
are open
Why
at
are you
3 in
so
the
tired?
morning.
I said, maybe my soul's been out.
The veil is very thin right now.
Exactly. That's what they
I
say,
might
right?
go to the portals, enter
The
the fifth
veil
dimension.
is
You gotta be-
very thin. That's what I
Something
heard.
to look forward to,
What I
you
heard.
know?
Yeah, that's true. I think it doesn't seem so bad. You just kind of,
Transcend.
yeah. I think it's like probably taking the deepest, most lovely breath.
I think
Oh.
it's kind of nice
Hmm.
to think that it's not the end of this.
It's the beginning.
It could. That's.
Why not? I mean, I like this one idea I heard. It's like this. So this guy is going to pass away. He's
But
old.
maybe the other one, we're not as conscious as we are now, but it could be a different reality.
I mean, one thing is like, I heard someone say, it was like a teacher, all his students were very sad that he was going to pass away. And he said, where could I go?
Yeah.
Like, it's not so,
Yeah.
it's all kind of around.
Huh.
I
Yeah,
don't-
that's
I
a
don't-
thinker.
Yeah.
That's a way Homer.
I
Where
think
could
we
it
have
go?
something to look forward to, you know. I
so, too.
don't think that this is really the end of who we are.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I don't think so either. I think we're, I don't know, something I heard that I liked, it's like all of us, animals, trees, rocks, people who are like here, manifest, incarnate. I heard someone describe it like we're here to work with the shadows, to work with this sort of shadow experience.
Yeah.
Like without the shadow, you can't see the light so clearly. It's,
So without the bad, you don't have
It's not
good.
even bad exactly, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of like on your pieces, right? You scratch away as you have these two tones, right? You have
Yeah.
a lighter and a darker tone. And
Go through a
you give
change,
it form,
metamorphosis.
right? Like shadow is like form.
Ah.
Almost.
Well, you know, I've been reading about time and space a lot.
Yeah.
And the fifth, when the Big Bang Theory occurred, the fourth dimension apparently got destroyed. And it became incomplete, so we don't have the fourth dimension. So you and I are in third dimension whenever we're sitting here. We're in third dimension right now. And the fifth dimension has a lot to do with entering into a very different not even space. It's just a void of time where one enters from one portion to an invisible fifth dimension. And in the fifth dimension, you become immortalized. You can become anything you can be. You can be a baby at 6 months and be an adult at 60 simultaneously.
I was talking to a friend about this idea where it's like at every point, right? Because there's only now, right? The past isn't really real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The future doesn't exist. So it's all right now, right? So
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm a little baby. I'm a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And I'm also.
So you can be, and in a fifth dimension, if you wanted to be a scientist or a doctor, you can be that.
Sure.
You know, and
Makes
the
sense.
whole thing about fifth dimension is that you can have people are going, once you enter the fifth dimension, it's magical because you can do anything you want. You can metamorphosize in anything and have intellectual power beyond your belief.
Why not?
And it's like you can be a superhuman, which everyone will be in that dimension. And up to the 12th dimension, if you get that far, read about it.
Whoa.
By then you're not immortal. They say
not
that
even
we're not
really
even
person.
DNA. We're bundles of string.
Right.
If you heard of the string theory,
Yeah. Very interesting stuff.
we're bundles of string.
Yeah.
That's
We're
totally.
just like we're vibrations, right?
Yeah.
We're vibrations. We are everything. We're not even.
I heard someone describe it like a way I liked. It was like we are just like these kind of. We're this just like cosmic vibration, right? That when we're in a body, that vibration is kind of slowed and concentrated. But we're not.
We're not like we're looking at each other. It's more like. It's like lines that undulate, and you don't even have. You have this invisible movement.
It's. I remember having this really. I was sitting by the river talking with a friend. And I don't know, it was like a hard time in my life. Things were kind of tough. And I was talking to this friend who I cared about and who was just coming out of a very tough time. And we were like looking at each other and talking, and I felt like, God, the creator, it was like we were both the creator.
Out of your body.
Watching each other. Like God is watching God. God is watching God's self, or whatever you want to say. That we're just reflecting this divinity back at each other. This sort of non.
You kind of removed yourself from.
It was like this idea of me as Carlo, who likes this, who doesn't like this. That wasn't the point. That's also nice. Like I love that I like pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that I like the color green.
Yeah.
But it was this very beyond myself moment where I was like, you were, I don't know, it was just like it felt like a very, I'm not really religious, but it was like a holy feeling.
It's not about a belief or institution. The fifth dimension is a very strange world because space and time for us the fourth dimension apparently is what we know is the clock, which is time.
So
which is time.
So there's something really interesting too. At the super collider in Switzerland, at Bern or CERN or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So they're accelerating and colliding tiny particles into each other and measuring what sort of is created or what sort of data is generated. And for a while, they were processing the data through an algorithm that sort of. They were trying to understand the data they were observing using the presumptions, the sort of mathematical presumptions of space-time. And they were just getting a bunch of gobbledygook. And so what they found is they started noticing patterns when they stopped assuming space-time was how to look at the world. Or how to look at this data. So it was like, that wasn't right. That's not actually how it works. And it was very interesting.
It's really, it's really unnerving because when I read about dimensions of time, it's like how it's the beginning of how life began emerging. But when we think of time and space, there's really nothing there. it's like an invisible world that I can't conceptualize, entering into this space of time that has no past or future or present.
You know what I love so much about the pottery in this gallery, your work, and really all of the work that I see here, is that, you know, and you've mentioned this today, but the technology that you're using, and I'm using the term technology both in the technical side of what is being done, but also in the approach, right? It's basically unchanged for 1,000+ years, right?
Yeah.
And yet, even though that's true, there are still evolutions and permutations and developments and refinements of the work, right? Things change, and yet nothing has changed.
The technique is still there.
And there's something about that for me that makes me very, very humbled by, you know, because I think it's often like, oh, what's the new thing? What's innovation? Nah, nah, nah. And to me, that's like, I don't know, it's like chasing something that you'll never get to. But with this, it's like you have this opportunity to, using something old, doing something in an ancient way, you're still doing something new. It's like, it's just, it's at the living edge. I don't know. I just,
you know, I think the feeling that you express is really interesting, because when I talk to people, you know, I can take pottery into very very contemporary form, but it doesn't do so much to me knowing that if I didn't make it, I know that I took shortcuts, you know, and I don't feel too comfortable. But I think tradition means that I'm doing pottery the way that my ancestors, our forefathers did, when they were sitting by the cave wearing a loincloth or a simple dress, sitting in the sunshine by Puyi caves and having a little clump of clay that wasn't even refined with rocks and pebbles in it, and yet they're coming to a point where they say, Grandma, make this pot and we're going to go and get the corn and put the corn kernels, and they're using the large pieces of clay to store their food. You know, there's something beautiful about the old process that is difficult. And when you tell me this, it means a lot, because tradition has to have a purpose and a reward. Is the way we do things. The harder things mean a lot more to me.
Well, then it's sort of like, I mean, for me, and I'm not a potter, I don't have the patience for one. But what I appreciate so much when I hold the work, and something that I say to people when they visit is, you know, and it's so evident watching you both work, these pots are born in your hands, right? And they're born, I mean, they're like a child, right? You have to hold the child, and so that you develop this mirror neuron, right? So the child's empathy comes out of touch. And so there's something in the pots, too, where they're held, like they're given life by this. And they become these objects where you can relate to. And so very briefly, when I hold them, I'm reminded of this relationship to both the earth and to time and to ancestry and to tradition. It almost feels grounding. It's like almost a medicine for all of the distractions that are around that.
That's why I'm saying when I am at home, I totally immerse myself, and pottery becomes meditative. I mean, what my daughter did is coming from her soul, you know. People say, I don't like the fingerprints inside the bowl. I said, I do. It means that there's a human touch. There's a touch between me and the person who possesses the pot now. And there's a human feeling that someone from a pueblo has touched it, and now you have it in your home, has held it.
Like I have this,
and like my daughter, you know, that's herself in it. Her presence in it.
I have this old pot that I got. It's been loved, and so it's a little damaged, but it makes me very, very happy. And it's almost 100 years old now. It's from Oke Wingate. It's one of the revivalists, Crucita trio. And it was used by someone's like mom and put a flower pot.
Nice.
So it's all a little old and but I hold it, and there's something, every single pot has a feeling, and you really can feel it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something about when you're paying attention, you're taking all of this care to build the piece, to dig the clay, to refine it, to hold it, to shape it, to polish it.
Yeah, her spirit. Her spirit is there. Her spirit of making the process. She sits there meditating, and all the positive vibes and energy that goes into making a piece, you can feel it when. Why would they pick out that piece when they didn't even know that it was just put there?
Yeah.
It was just put there.
This is something that happens so much.
Yeah.
That people can feel. People are so much more sensitive than I think they often give themselves credit for. Like, people are quite energetically sensitive for the most part. And I something I think about, like, when I ask myself, what is prayer? And I think, it's like loving attention. You're paying attention to something in a loving, open way.
Yeah. Oh, yes, this is the process. From there, you're looking at something like that. So I'm doing my design, working very slow because we're enjoying talking about pottery and the spirit that goes into it. So I've got the oven, but I don't know about finish. I'll finish it, but maybe not today. But I think one can
if
feel
it's not today, that's okay.
Soul, you can feel it.
Yeah, totally.
Can feel it.
And that's the most beautiful thing, like, to leave to people who come after you is the feeling, right? And I kind of think, like, on some level, for myself, I just think this way maybe. It's like maybe the purpose of being alive is just to carry that spirit to the next generation of people, It's like I received it from people when I was little, in paintings or family.
That's so neat,
And I remember getting that feeling for the first time when I was little.
Oh, yes.
And then I go, I just want someone else to feel that, and so I feel that in some way it feels like what you're doing as well. And it's an incredibly generous act, it's a generous thing.
People really concentrate on getting rich out of something like this, but my feeling is, I am so thrilled when someone says, I love that, that's a beautiful piece. And when it's purchased, it's not about the monetary value, but how the essence of emotion that's evoked from purchasing that piece. And it's almost like anything. You can see 10 beautiful shirts in a shop, and one of them speaks to you, kind of thing, I think that's what art does. It's very subjective,
I think that I kind of think of it like when you have a response to something, there's a feeling that comes. What I tell people is that that feeling wasn't given to you by this thing. It reminded you of something that you might not have even known was there, and so it's almost like a pathway or like a shepherd. Like this object brings you to that place that might be inherited, it might be old, but it lives in you. I don't know. It makes me feel connected to people. I think that's what it does.
Well, I think that's what happens when you see 1,000 pieces of artwork in a gallery and only one thing speaks to you. That's why art is so subjective. It's between you and the painter and the artist. It evokes the same feeling as that person might have had. When I see her making a piece with love and the positiveness that comes out of form, and saying, I gave my all to form the pot, and you can feel the spirit in the pot.
It's almost like time travel.
Yeah.
Right? You can have a piece that's very old, and you can have this very much alive feeling interacting with it, and there's no time. You know what I mean? There's no time.
If I do a piece and it doesn't seem right, it just doesn't seem right, then I have to get rid of it and soak it, because there's something really not positive and something negative, that enters in. I get rid of the pot if it's not what I like. Yeah. So the whole thing is, you put yourself in everything that you do, including a painting or a beadwork, it really makes a subjective piece that's very, very important. Yeah. So we're trying to design a water serpent on my pot. My daughter just finished a very nice fluted edge pot, and it's taken her about a good 3 hours now.
I think so, something like that. But in the meantime, I was making some
it's a beautiful form.
pinch pots.
That's what we call in the public. It's a very feminine form. They call it feminine form.
Right.
Yeah.
Because women
The
have wide
roundedness
hips
of it.
and then narrow.
Yeah.
And the fluted has to do with the cloud formation of undulating. That's really hard to polish. If you take a stone and try to polish it, it's very difficult. Very difficult.
It's fragile.
Yeah. And anytime you have like a little fancy line, it's even worse. It's like, why did I do that? You know, why couldn't I have just done a simple one? You know, this one is a pleasure to polish. It's wonderful. But when you have something a little bit like the edge, it's a little bit hard work. You sit there for hours painting that one ridge, you know. I'm still not done. I did this really quickly, but it's not halfway as good as it should be. So I have to resand it, fix the top, and start all over again. So it's a lot of work. Yeah, but they're fun. The little ones are very difficult. But they kind of scaled down. Yeah. Yeah, but they're fun to collect, though. Lots of people collect miniatures.
Yeah.
But they're fun. I think those are yours, Dusty?
The little ones are. They're mine. Yeah, don't do too many little pieces. Yeah, that's what they look like when they're done. This is what they look like when they're starting out. So I'm sitting there. You can imagine me at home.
I have some Bernice, the mom, and my daughter.
Watching movies and making little pinch pots. Yeah.
I have 2 more children that don't like clay. No, I'm not going to do it. So
very specific.
I said, fine, then you go to school. So he's going to.
It takes a special person. Clay doesn't agree with everyone.
It doesn't agree with everybody. It doesn't. Some people don't like the feel of clay. I guess it's psychological too. Yeah. It looks too much like playing with something.
Maybe too regressive, maybe too messy.
You know
maybe
how babies play with
just,
stuff? Yeah. Some people don't like
that. Yeah.
My mom didn't like working with clay. She said no, but she liked to sew, you know. She didn't like the clay. Yeah.
It's however, you know, whatever language you...
Me, I like mess. I like mud. I like the mess that goes with it. We have a mess at home. Huh?
We do. It looks just
really
like this.
Clean, but at all,
did you see me?
Have to mop the
Did
floor.
you see my space? It's like it looks just like this. And we're sitting here.
Like that
and then it's you're impressed.
Yeah, I would be. I mean,
See, I'm doing the water serpent as I was supposed to be doing that, but that's all I've got.
Get it all over the place. I'm like, no, I gotta have
and
a little
then Dusty does the horses.
Take one Kemper tool.
That's
I thought I did pretty good.
Yeah, that's her specialty. She does beautiful with horses.
So, that's good.
Me, I'm all like 4 legs, but they're not the same.
And it works because we have we'll have a little tiny space, and the great thing about it is that you can just sit there and you can do it whenever you feel like it. It's awesome because it just speaks to you when you want to design. And I'm like waking up in the morning and I'm going, oh, I get to design today, and I get excited.
Have you ever touched volcanic ash?
I get to put a horse on a pot.
Have you ladies ever felt the ash?
Sit there all day.
That's what we mix. Have you ever felt volcanic ash?
As a job, and it's just wonderful.
That's from a real volcano.
And it's therapeutic in its own way because
I think thousands of years ago there was a volcanic activity in New Mexico, and you can still find signs of the rocks along the Albuquerque area, and it went as far as New Mexico. So we have places where it's all white and you can go dig it out. But we sift it 2-3
Once I get into a design and I'm drawing my background design, my little zigzag, and I can sit there and just do one line and just do one line and just get into that space.
But that's what we use when we make our clay and we mix it. Yeah, it acts as a temper to keep the clay.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's very mindful.
Yeah.
It's very meditative.
They have some beautiful work here.
You just lose focus of time, and all I'm doing is
a nice
just
gallery,
line.
very nice.
And it could just be one continuous line all the way around the pot. and I'm just sitting there, and it's quiet, and I'm just reflecting on being nothing else but just me and the pot, and just doing that one line.
That's my new style.
I'm very grateful.
But my new ones are even more very contemporary, very large.
For
but
whatever
I love
reason,
holes,
it has
and I
always
just
kind of
put
come
the
into
holes
my
back.
life.
The clay actually cracks really
at
easy.
times where I was when
and
I
it's
needed
hollow
it, and
inside.
I knew that was the benefits of
and
what
the way I
the purpose
form it,
of art
I
as
have
therapy.
a thick
And so when
clay
I went into my clinical work and I
wedge
wanted
it,
to focus
I roll it out
on
like
working
a
with
pie
children
crust about
and
that
being
long,
able to have
and I
that
carefully
opportunity
start
for them to
folding
talk
it at the
about
edge
situations
until I have
or
the
episodes or
two
traumas
meeting,
that they
which
might
is
have
the bottom.
experienced, and that might
which is
not
the
be
bottom.
verbal to them,
Yeah.
but art is something that's very basic
Yeah.
to all of us as beginning as children. So it was an opportunity for me to mix these two worlds that I was very connected to just from my mom, and my mom being with my mom when I was a child and going to her art classes, and so I was exposed to it that way, and I just love to see her expression of art throughout her life. And so when I wanted to be a clinician, I just kind of put those two together, and that's where I got what I found an art therapy program here in Santa Fe, and I got my master's in it. That was the rationale and the reason for it. And so I too myself use art as therapy, but also understand that it's very healing and therapeutic, and I can understand that even being in that space of creating, it's invigorating and it's energetic and it's transforming, and you can change a piece. You can change it like you want to make it, and that's having control of it. And so it gives you all these emotions. Sometimes you get angry because you can't create something that you don't want to, and you're feeling stuck. So that comes about too. And you get happy when you're creating. When it comes to a pot that for instance, when I was working with that pyramid pot, and I'm like, wow, this pot is just so cool, because I've never had a
show them my
so I'm doing like a little kid, I'm shaking the table, I'm like, look at Mom and Dad, this pot is so stable. And I'm like,
my
I can
Indian name
understand
is Stripe
why
Rock,
they build the
so I had to
pyramids,
find a
because
symbol
it was
that was quick and easy.
unbelievable.
So I kind of stole it from the Chinese yin and yang.
I'm like jazzed with that, because I'm like, look, and I'm shaking the table and everything else is like falling off, and I'm like, look at my pot, it doesn't move, and I'm like so excited.
Anyone listening who lives in San Francisco might want to consider the pyramid pot.
And I'm like, it is so cool, because I'm thinking that is exactly what they were thinking, and I'm going, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I am just intrigued by that shape. It's so cool, so modern, but it's not. It's just so stable, and I'm going, this is just amazing. So I'm really fascinated by the pyramid pots now. So I get all nerdy and get all like that too. So it's just all different kinds of things. Yeah. It's just really amazing what comes about. And so, like we're doing here, like we said, it's like we're at home, and we talk about everything that comes up, family stuff, talks about shows, current events. We talk about how we're doing. Mom's telling me, this is, it hurts, physically it's not the easiest work, but it's something that we return to and that we love, and that we're sitting next to each other and doing this, and how many opportunities we get to do that. And so it's just really a combination of all these things put together. And so you see all of that in the pieces, which is really neat to see, because, we work together. And so there's this relationship that happens. So our pieces, people will say, your pieces look the same. Well, their designs look the same. I can tell that's your mom's work, because, it kind of looks similar, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
But that's from that we're just sitting here like this.
Yeah, there's a conversation happening between both you and your mother's work.
There is a conversation.
And I think that's so true of a lot of the Pueblo pottery. It is this kind of one generation to the next, but it's so lovely to see you both sitting side by side, working side by side, and having this kind of letting us in on the conversation.
Letting us in on the conversation. And they're going to be like, wow, they're really they're really tripping out. Someone's like, they're really tripping, but this is us, right, Mom? This is what we're not.
I'm not even listening.
We're not even, we're not even any different. And then we're like, okay, what should we have for lunch? And, then we're talking about that. And, okay, I'm hungry. Or I'm ready to go take a nap or something. This is what we do. So, it's really neat for, this is
I tell myself Satan doesn't sleep.
So she doesn't take a nap. I'm like, Mom, how do you do that? And it's incredible that it's almost energizing for her, because where I can do one pot, she can do 5. It's incredible how she can work, even at her age. And so it's really neat to see, because she just doesn't stop.
You are tenacious.
Yeah. Yeah, she really is. She's amazing.
I hope to have like a fifth of the energy you have
I know. I really don't feel my age, actually. I don't know. I feel like I'm aging very well.
You are?
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a real nocturnal person. I can stay up till 3 in the morning and wake up by 4 or 5. So I seem like I'm using less sleep, maybe 4 or 5 hours, and I'm up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I work, and then by 10 o'clock I'm tired, and I'll rest a bit, and I'll do something else. So if it's 8 o'clock, her and I say, it's too early, let's do something. So I paint, or she's been helping me paint, and we're having a really good time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So she did some nice paintings. I'm going to try to take over to the natives show, and she did a fish, and it was beautiful.
Oh yeah, my fishes.
She never done that before, and she had a great time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So all I do is take a watercolor paper, and I make a mess with my paint, with my fingers, or use a stencil. I just put the purple, turquoise, and blue. Oh, pretty. And once it's dry, then I cut them up by 5 by 7, and I draw pictures, and we really had fun with that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we have fun together.
And if you get to Native Market, come by and see me. You'll see them.
Native Treasures.
Native Treasure Show.
Memorial Day weekend.
When is it, May?
Memorial Day weekend at the Convention Center.
Yeah.
Just like a couple blocks down the road.
Down the road.
Sunday also, or just on Saturday?
It's actually, I think Friday they have
Friday
a preview.
night they have for
a preview?
The collectors. They come on Friday nights from 6 to 8. Okay. And then the next day we're going to be there from 9 o'clock till 4, I think, 4 or 5. Okay. So my grandson Jonathan, he's awesome too. Okay. So I'll be sharing a table, but I'll have my peg to hang up my paintings.
Okay.
Yeah, come by.
I hope I can make it over there. Yeah. Maybe I'll try to sneak in on Friday afterwards.
Yeah.
Just kidding. If you're listening. Yeah. No, that
don't
sounds
put your
good.
face on the camera.
Yeah. You don't know what I look like.
You don't know what I look like, so you just know that. Somebody said that, but you don't know what I look like.
Unfortunately, she'll be gone, and I'm going to really miss her.
I won't, but I'll be back from market.
She's probably going to try to fly back for the Indian market, because she's got a lot of work to do. Yeah. And she's going to work.
I got a lot to do. A lot to do between now and then. Yeah.
I don't even have my clay done. We got 4 new buckets of clay,
and I got to
sift. I've got a lot of work.
That takes a lot of work.
I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
You have to get.
I'm too lazy, so that's.
Well, what I say is organization is the name of the game for me.
Oh, that is my worst.
She calls me a micromanager.
I'm a procrastinator by nature.
Yeah, when I was a teacher, I say you're not going to do any art if I see you don't clean your paintbrush. I would stand there. I said, okay, Vincent, you did everything. Tomorrow art. No, you didn't, John. You didn't do that. Oh, Mrs. I said, nope. Even now, I have to clean up. I cleaned her bowl. It was full of mud. And I said, she can't take it looking like
I know. What'll they think of me? Caught her with a dirty bowl. Look at that. Oh my God. Shame to the family. Look at everybody.
That's why she called me. You're a micromanager.
Shame.
And I tell my husband.
I'm bringing to the family.
I have a pan of water. I said, you didn't wash your spoon, dear. huh? I said, clean up after your mess, kids. Don't, and they put crumbs under the mat. I said, I take the mat. I said, no. I said, Mom.
Oh, man. I guess I'm a little grateful at this moment that you're not my mom. You'd be not pleased.
Yeah, I'm a little bit anal there, but.
That's okay, yeah.
You know, yeah.
When I was little, I was talking to my mom last night, and I was remembering when I was a little boy in kindergarten, I would make drawings all the time, and then I had a little cubby where you put your drawings or whatever, and then you're supposed to take them home at the end of the day.
Oh,
so
yeah, it's cool.
One day I had just, my teacher had enough. I had been shoving drawings in my cubby, and it was just this big mess of drawings.
Oh, God.
And she said, you know what, you have to take those drawings out today.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch you do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Took them all out, and in the back there was a spider had built its house in the back of all my drawings, and I was so excited. And everyone else was a little freaked out. But
oh no!
I'm a messy spider person.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah. Well,
so the point of the story was that there was so many drawings that the spider could
build a house and give me a drawing.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It felt like something important. I remembered that, and the spiders I'm still messy.
Yeah,
I'm still messy, and I'm still friends with the spiders.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I tell myself it's okay that I'm a mess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, do you still have those drawings from your cubby?
So what brings you? What brings you to work in a gallery? You have an interest in arts, or?
Yeah. I'm an artist. I studied art and.
Are you technical?
No.
You're not?
No, not really. I mean, I take photos.
Photography?
I do photography, and that's kind of technical, but it's not really that's not my strong.
Yeah.
That's not what I focus on so much. I learn enough to do what I want to do, and then I'll just do that. So.
When I was undergraduate, I took photography, and it was blessed because we had dark rooms.
Oh, those are fun.
And she was about 7, and she would go to class with me.
Yeah.
So when she went to class, they took us outside, and I had an oatmeal box. She goes, "What's that for, Mom?"
The pinhole.
So we did the pinhole.
Yeah, those are cool.
And she was shocked.
I
When we
about
took
that
that
this
paper
morning.
out in a room, in a dark room,
before.
they closed the dark curtains, and she said, "Mom, there's a school bus," and it was just one little pin in the curtain, and there was the bus, and the bus was shaped round because of the shape of the oatmeal box.
It was actually upside down. It was. That's when it
inverted. She was so excited.
I was so excited by art.
It's incredible. I mean, so the word the word camera comes from the Arabic. I'm probably going to say this wrong. Camora, which is like darkened room. So camera is just a dark room.
Oh,
dark room.
Yeah.
Kind of lovely.
Well, I had to learn. We had a dark room back, and I had to put my hands in there, and I had to put the film in the things. And I got so good at it, I could do it really fast. And I spent hours in a dark room, but I'd take her to school with me, and she never forgot some of those things that we were doing.
That's cool.
So cool.
That's so great.
So cool. That's the cool thing about art. I loved it.
They're so lovely.
It was so neat to see that
I
exposure
even
to
bought
art.
a darkroom set that burned down when our house burned. It was a very interesting machine, but everything burned. But the darkroom is incredible.
It's a special
too
place.
bad that it's becoming obsolete. Too bad.
Yeah.
gotta
Everything
bring
is
it back.
digital. How boring.
Well, speaking about the digital, I think that it seems like you guys are pretty much wrapping up for the demo. And
I think so.
I think that it's...
I know. I gotta stay till I finish my oven.
I'm done. I did my
done?
part,
Yeah,
Derek.
you did your part. You did great.
See, look, I know.
That's amazing. You also did great too, Bernice. I really like how your Avania's coming out. So, yeah, I think that you guys did a wonderful job, and I want to thank you guys, everybody, for being here.
It was great.
And I hope you guys had a blast of fun. Yeah, I know. So, hooray, right? And so did you.
Do I get a check?
Of course.
Do I get
I don't get cash.
You don't ask that on camera.
Watch me carry out pennies in a bag.
You're still on tape. Still on camera.
I'm a Miss too. I collect coins, and I'm always saying, let me look at your pennies, Dusty, or, oh, I won a 23 quarter. Oh, it's worth 7,000. On it, you want me? Oh, don't get me started.
I know we'll be here another hour. Yeah, but
thank you both so very much, and we
had a blast.
really appreciate you coming here.
But you, young man, I gotta thank you've done you and your mom. Yep. We're both so grateful. That's why I'm here.
Well, thank you so very much.
Because it's reciprocal.
Yep.
You've done so much, like today.
Look at this place.
Without saying anything, you say,
Love.
I'm interested. Look what happened.
Yeah,
that was.
You guys love the pots, and we love you guys for loving the pots.
And I saved that piece for you.
Well, thank you so much.
You guys are awesome.
And it was meant for. So it was meant for the person that got it. So hooray!
She came in and said, I did one shark pot one year at the herd, and the woman was just hugging it. She said, I gotta take it home. I gotta take it home. Well, Ken,
great. Thank you so very much. We're going to wrap it up right now.
Yeah.
It's just going to take us
Bye.
one moment for the.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.